Microaggressions.
Oh,
It was from the the Evergreen College thing with Weinstein, and they said to the principal about his microaggressions, and
You can't talk with your hands.
how can you
get
that and translate that small aggressiveness?
Yeah, we don't.
get the fuck out of here. Is how it's translated to me.
Jumbo shrimp. How can you have both of those in the same thing?
Oh, on that, I think that's perfect.
Dude,
Here, you need to go up a little bit.
Just a hair.
Just a hair.
Yeah, I'm not getting much. Check.
You like that better?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right.
I mean, you got the radio voice.
I think it picks up Cassie's the best though.
Yeah. It's just as far as clarity goes, but yours sounds real nice. You got that.
Yeah, I can hear it now.
You have that radio voice. I don't.
All right.
I have a face for radio, but I don't have the voice for it.
Maybe even another bear start. All right, here we go. Okay, we're live. Joe Copenhaver.
That's right.
I got it right this time. Thank you for joining me. And this, I'm excited.
got it.
I know within about 30 seconds of meeting you, you said,
That was
I
a bad
don't know
idea."
why I'm here, but I had already decided 15 seconds prior to that. I knew exactly
Did
why
you
I was
know
here.
when you saw the truck that it was going to be a good thing, or did you see the truck and be like, "Oh my god"?
Well, I was surprised by the truck. Cause I see this old, box Ford. What was it 80? What year is that?
19 and 92.
It's a 92. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it might have been late 80s.
F-150.
It's an F-150.
Yeah, I saw like man,
F1
like
sweet is what it is.
Yeah.
yeah, I saw it sitting out there. I'm like, man, I haven't seen that truck around here. And he pulls in. I'm like, well, that must be him. And then you told me it was for your son. I'm like, man, that's a sweet
Yeah,
truck to
he's
start
making out.
driving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's making out.
I think I told you I started out with a Bronco 2 when
I
I
like those too.
That's
I
pretty
like
sweet.
those.
It was great, but it was a piece of crap. I bought it. I had my first job. I bought it for like $300, and then the head gasket was going out on it. And the one time I remember I had a dentist appointment before school. I was like maybe a junior in high school or something.
Yeah.
And the head gasket just completely blew oil all over the place. Like I was like 5 miles from school, and I was at a T, and I stopped at a stop sign, just smoke everywhere. I had to like push it across the road. I could barely get into a driveway. I had to walk to school, and then like halfway through the day, I get a note from the office that the Worcester police towed my Bronco to the pound because it was
That's
like
probably
it was
the best news you heard all day. It's their problem now, man.
Yeah,
Right?
but I had
Good luck.
The payment I had to get it out wasn't as much as I got from the junk yard.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Was it a white Bronco?
Blue and white. No, it was blue and white, not just white.
That was
it was
a Bronco too,
yeah.
though. So
Yeah,
that's a little
wasn't
bit
the same, yeah.
That was a little bit cooler. I kind of like those a little more.
Yeah, but that truck is sweet. You just said you just picked that up? Yeah.
Yeah, we got it not too long ago. I just got the plates and everything for it. I'm driving it around now to try to get the bugs all worked out, because when he goes and drives it, he's not going to know what to do other than put it in drive and put it in park. And I just need to know that everything that happens in between there is good.
Sure.
The only way to do that's to drive it.
Yeah.
So,
What was your first vehicle?
oh man, it was a 1978 Chevy panel van. Right?
Did it have
And-
curtains?
And it had a kitchen in the back, man. I mean, I'm talking about a working stove.
Oh man,
I mean,
that
it was
sounds
unbelievable.
dangerous.
It was called the Gray Goblin.
That's
And
awesome.
if anybody ever knows me that listens to this, they're going to know that. I mean, it was great, and it was terrible. I remember the first day I drove it to school, it was raining, and I turned the wipers on, and they both flew off the hinges. So I didn't have any wipers the first day, but it was mine.
Yeah.
And it was mine. And then I later upgraded to a Ford Escort, which lasted about 2 months because the heads are aluminum. And they warped, and that was the end of that. And so then it was time to be an adult and go get a real one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I remember that's probably one of the most expensive lessons I've ever learned is when I went to the dealer for the first time ever.
Yeah.
At like, oh hell, I might have been 20, something like
Yeah.
that, maybe 19. And I was like, oh, like I need to be smart. Well, because I had fast cars and got myself into trouble.
yeah.
And then you go to the dealership and get a car and you realize like the interest rate and everything.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, what the hell did I do? This
Yeah,
is
that
terrible.
sticker price ain't the
Yeah.
real price, man.
Yeah.
I know that. But that's part of learning how to manage money.
God, that sounded like a quote for life right there about the sticker price.
Oh yeah, I mean it ain't
That's everything you think you're getting, and then
You got
and then
that
there's so
right.
much more.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, Sharon, I remember before before you got here, we were talking about being early because you showed up super early. And I said my grandpa taught me a couple of things. I never got to meet him, or at least I was a baby.
Yeah.
The one thing he taught me was, early is on time is late. If you're late, don't even bother showing up. But one other thing I always remember that he reportedly said was, never believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. I was like, oh, damn.
I tell you.
He saw social media coming a long time ago.
Yeah, there's still truth to all those words, man.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
And you were talking also before about, some of the things you'd done prior. You were part of SWAT or SRT.
Yeah.
Don't
Not
get you
SRT.
started.
Not
No,
SRT.
Not SRT. And people may not know, when we talked about it off the air, the difference between that is really nothing. I mean, it's like, this is black. No, it's not. It's midnight black. Okay, whatever. Special response team. And I've always said this, that every policeman that's in a uniform is his own special response team. So to call a group of guys that do SWAT work an SRT, to me, is an injustice to the guys that's actually on the street doing the job every day. Because everything they go to is special response.
Right. So real quick. So obviously we didn't really give much of an introduction.
Yeah, I was going to say we need a little bit.
Yeah.
of an
So
introduction here.
just so for anyone who's listening, so you're a sheriff's deputy.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been there for 22 years.
Okay. And you were part of the SWAT team there and did some things. So maybe just a quick.
Yeah, sure. I
background
started
for that.
at the sheriff's office in 1999. I was an officer for about 3 years before that in a couple small departments in Wayne County. And then I got on with the sheriff's office, and I'm thinking it was around 2003, 2004, I got on the team as a sniper, which I started out as the spotter for the main sniper, and then when that person stepped down, I took over as the main guy behind the gun, and I held that spot for quite a while, and then our team kind of dissolved because of money, which is a big issue. We went through that period where we had to lay people off, and we really had to trim a lot of fat just to keep operating. Right. And unfortunately, that was one of the things that had to go, which in a lot of places it was one of the first things to go because it does take a lot of money.
True.
And it takes you away from your primary job, which is to handle calls for the citizens. And then about 5 years ago, I started it up again. And basically, I started it up from scratch. Started it from the ground up, which gave me a chance. If you ever get a chance to build something from the ground up, man, you would know.
Oh, yeah.
You get a chance to kind of do it your way.
Right.
So one of those guys that man, if I was in charge, I would do this.
Now you are.
Well, guess what, man? Here you go. Here's your canvas.
Put up or shut up.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, me and I didn't do that alone. There were a lot of guys that had to trust me and come with me and do that and build a pretty successful team. And then here, as we worked up through that, I'm starting to get closer to the end of my run. And as you get older in that career, you start peeling away some of your layers so that when it comes time for you to walk away, you've got everything squared away, locked down, and you ride off into the sunset like you want to.
Right.
With everything locked up and ready to go, and pass those things on to the guys that you think can keep them going. And, that's really what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to get everything in order. I've still got around 4 years to go, but in police work, that's nothing. 4 years goes like that. 4 fairs. Think of it that way. I got 4 fairs to go, man. And we all sit around and talk about, I got 15 fairs to go. How am I going to make it? Huh? Before long, it's 4, and then it's 1, and then you're done. So I think it's my responsibility to have that stuff squared away and ready to go and give it off to people so that it keeps going. You want to leave things better than you found them. And that's the only way you can do that, is to make sure that you give it off to the right guys and you have things in good running order, kind of like the truck. I'm getting that truck squared away, good running order, and I'm going to pass it on to my son, and I hope he doesn't put it around a tree. or running into a lake or whatever he might hit. But the idea is to give him a good working machine, and that's what I tried to do with that.
Well, that's pretty commendable. What's the sunset look like for you?
Man, the sunset looks like it's in Florida, I'll tell you the truth. But you know what? If there's one thing I've learned throughout this 47 years, you have your plan, and then there's the plan that's really going to happen. So, and if you're not ready to adjust to that plan and ride with it, you're in for a pretty miserable life.
Sure.
Just adjust to it.
Gotta be flexible.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, you can't be weak and bend every time something comes your way you don't like. I mean, you can fight back, but there's a plan for you, and it's not always the plan you want.
You mean you can't cry and hit the cancel button?
Or hit the reset and put it. Yeah, look, for my day, you'd have to put another quarter in the machine and start the game over. But no, you can't. I don't think you can do that. I mean, there's a lot of things that I have in mind, but there's also a lot. I also realize that most of those I'll never get there, but it's going to be fun trying.
That's a good outlook. I mean, I think it's a lot of things that a lot of people don't have, is that maybe it's resilience. Maybe it's a good word for it.
Yeah.
I work with trees a lot.
Yeah.
And obviously Tony as well. He knows. It's a good analogy with the wind. When the wind comes, like, you don't want to break at everything.
Right.
There's times where you have to bend over and you have to let that tree.
Yeah.
The tree's got to bend and sway, but
doesn't mean you got to go cut it down, does it?
right. Yeah.
I mean, there's times that you want things to go in a certain direction. Man, you planned it. You know the variables. You're pretty confident it's going to happen that way. Ain't happening, man. Okay, that's fine. Didn't happen. I'm pissed about it, but tomorrow the sun's going to come up again, and I got to be ready for it.
Right.
So
make sure you're there for the sun to come up.
For sure.
I'm sure you could relate to that through your career. Not everything always goes as planned. I can only imagine
that's what I was going to ask.
Stories upon stories.
You said you started in 1999.
That's why I started at the sheriff's office in 99.
Okay.
I actually started police work around mid-1996 into 97.
Okay.
So, were you even alive then? That's kind of like a legit question.
Yeah, 100% I was alive.
Okay.
Yeah, I was probably watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. I was learning how to be
I probably was too. It's crazy.
I was probably just old enough to learn how to be an asshole at that age.
Oh my goodness.
In late 90s.
So just kind of going back to what you guys were saying, man, I just thought of a Dylan quote, the times they are changing and the times have always been changing. So, what are some things since you started in law enforcement that you've seen from back in the 90s till now? Because obviously, there's some huge stuff going on right now, and not even getting into immediately that, but just, if you can shed some light on.
Yeah. There's really a million things. And that seems like on the surface a really easy question to answer.
Yeah.
And it kind of is, but it's super complex. I mean, when you talk about, and you guys will understand this being businessmen, the biggest change that affects us and guys in my position right now, it's 5 years and less. Retirement systems, healthcare. I mean, when you took these jobs back in those days, that's why you took them.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew you weren't going to make a ton of money, but you knew you were going to work 25 years, you're going to be done, and you're going to be well taken care of with a good retirement system.
Sure.
It's not exactly true anymore. Right. So that, which no one wants to hear about, is a big difference. The overall perception of the police officer, it has changed for sure. A lot of that is our own fault. You have tree services that that are better than others. You have tree workers that are better than others. There's a lot of bad ones, and there's a lot of really good ones that you would love to have work for you.
Yeah.
That's no different than policemen. Got a lot of really good policemen. There's some not so good. It's a tough job because the decision-making process is so small. Can you train that? I don't know if you can. I think we're trying.
Yeah.
But the perception of the police officer is something that has changed in both ways. There's a lot of people that do not like the police, obviously, but I have seen a growing number of people that go out of their way to tell us that they do appreciate us. So it's not all negative. So immediately answer that question, oh man, being a cop sucks now because of this, that. In my experience living here in this county, that's not the case. We have seen an increase in support. And I think that's got a lot to do with the way we do our jobs. A lot of us grew up here.
Sure.
We live here. We understand the culture that we work with. And we've adapted well to that. And I think that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to serve those people that you work with, live around, grew up with. And I think that's a big reason why we've got that growing support. And you're always going to have those people that throw eggs at my cruiser that sits at my house. You're going to have that. No big deal. But for the most part, when we go out and we do our jobs and you were just traveling from A to B and someone gets the chance to tell us or thank you to me, it happens a lot. It happens a lot. I mean, it's changed a lot, but in a lot of ways it's kind of stayed the same. You have an expectation of performance.
Sure.
And that expectation may go up and down depending on where you live and what's going on with the world, but meeting that standard it's still the goal. So it's changed a lot, but you know what? When you change with it, you really don't notice it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could throw that back at you and say,
sure.
When you started doing tree work, your equipment is way different now.
Yeah.
Your education on how to do things, way different now. The expectation of how that stuff gets done, way different now. It's so easy to criticize someone now and get it out there.
Yeah.
I had Rogue come do my trees and they tore a hole in my yard. And now
Boom.
They posted all over and 1,000 people read it.
Instead of a phone call, hey, let's handle this through a phone call.
Sure,
boom,
right.
It's out there on the internet.
Right. A police officer came up to me and he wrote me a ticket and I wasn't speeding.
Yep.
Boom.
Yeah, or they get their camera out and they post,
sure.
A clip that's 10 seconds long that
Sure.
doesn't even begin to show the whole story.
Well, and I think to both of those points where, I think there's so many people that don't really think about, police officers. They're just people just like you and me and anybody else.
Yeah.
They're out they're doing a job.
Yeah.
You mentioned the benefits, maybe like the retirement and things aren't what they used to be. And it just really hit me that it was funny. Because obviously we haven't been doing this incredibly long. I think this is number 14 or so of the podcast, and
probably the last one after this.
No, trust me.
Just burn it down.
Yeah, we have debauchery every once in a while. It gets a lot worse. Trust me. But
there's not even any alcohol. Right
yeah,
now.
I mean, there's plenty over there. If there's some beers in the fridge, No, but it was funny because my daughter asked, "Well, who's coming on the podcast?" And I told her. She's like, "Well, what does he do?" And I told her, and she goes, and she's kind of like, didn't say anything. I'm like, well, what? She's like, well, it's just weird having a police officer here, like not on official business. I was like, well, he's just a person, just like you and me.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you could be a police officer someday if you wanted to. She's like, oh, yeah, I want to be a singer though. I'm like, all right, well,
good for her.
Yeah, end the conversation. But it was kind of funny, like the benefits piece of it, where.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for a good job. Mm-hmm. Everyone they want to take care of their families. They want to retire. They want to ride off in the sunset.
Sure.
And, and for somebody to take the, position as a police officer with good intentions, because I know some people that
Sure
have done the opposite too.
Absolutely.
Like whether it be, military service. There's a lot of guys that go in the military that they don't want to serve their country. They just want to make up for some imbalances they've had in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if the harder you make the job, at least in my eyes, the harder you make a police officer's job, well, you're going to put people in that position that look at that and go, well, why would I want to do that?
Yeah. Look, and that's very understandable. Our job isn't exactly painted in the best light. So you don't get to see, it's kind of like when you watch ESPN football. All they do is show the touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
They don't show the defense when they stop the guy for a 1 yard loss.
Or all the blocking.
Yeah,
for the
or
touchdown.
all the good blocking that stopped a big play from. They don't show all the times a policeman goes into a house and defuses it, and finds it better than it was when he got there, and goes on.
Yeah, or saves a kid.
Exactly. I mean, that stuff usually doesn't make the news.
It's not salacious.
When you're constantly putting it out there all the time, where a guy, I had a sergeant a long time ago tell me, it's back when the internet started to become a thing, and there was, people recording everything. How would you like to have the worst moment of your life caught on film?
And then go viral.
Yeah.
And
that really stuck with me. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it could happen any day here, because no one wants to, we will train and we will do all this stuff, but I can sit here and tell you, no one wants to go out and take someone's life. They don't. I have met thousands and thousands of policemen in my life, and I've never been around a group of guys that, man, I can't wait to go to work tomorrow. Maybe I'll get to shoot someone. Right. I mean, you don't understand the impact that has on your life, that guy's or girl's family's life, their children. No one wants to do that. But sometimes that has to happen, and it's on video now more times than not for everyone to watch and replay and critique.
Scrutinize.
And go over and over and over again, and it's not a desirable job. And I can give you a little bit of insight on that. My oldest boy, who's getting the truck, he said to me multiple times, Dad, there's just no way that I would ever want to be a policeman. Ironically, he wants to be an Army Ranger. But in his eyes, being a policeman is more difficult than that because of what he sees constantly on the television, on the internet. And we don't talk greatly about stuff like that at my house. I don't want it to be about that.
Sure.
When I come home, I want it to be Dad.
Right.
I don't want it to be deputy dad.
Yeah.
And some ways maybe I've cut them off at the knees a little bit. Maybe they want to, but I don't want that. I don't want that interaction immediately when I get home to be all about police. Number one, I don't want to talk about it.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
You just
I'm done with it. To me, getting home is like, getting to home base.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. But at the same time, they need to know certain things. And as they've gotten older, those talks have increased. But, for years, I just didn't want to get into it. And my wife's been pretty strong with that too. She's probably got a tougher time about it than I do. Because I truly don't, not to be arrogant I really don't think about when I go to work about getting shot or getting in a wreck or whatever might happen. I don't. I go there and I know there's certain things I got to get done that day. And I've got 8, 10, 12 hours, whatever it is to get it done. And I need to try to get it done.
Well, I feel like that could be debilitating. If you go in, I mean, not that anyone, at least I don't blame police officers for, every single time they pull somebody over thinking, all right, like what could happen? Well, yeah. But if you think that way, it could be debilitating too.
It is. And it could
be a conflict.
Sometimes it creates a problem that really was never there. If you go up to every stop like it's a bank robber, right, you're not going to be there very long. Because most people that you're going to come in contact with, that's probably the only contact they may ever have with a policeman. Mm-hmm. So their opinion of what you do is based on that interaction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind. I always remembered a quote that there'll be somebody out there that'll point this out that it's wrong, but I think it might be Ted Williams quoted this. And they asked him why he played so hard every day. He said, well, because there might be somebody up in the stands who's never seen me play before. And that might be the only memory they ever get of me. So, and it's kind of relating that to what I'm saying is that might be the only contact a citizen ever has with a policeman. And so they're going to drive away one or two ways. Thank God he or she was there, or I never want to see those guys ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't help how they feel.
Right.
It's just the way it is. But if you can control that interaction in a positive way, I think it benefits you and your community.
Absolutely. I mean, even from a personal standpoint, I've had, myself not so great run-ins with police officers, but then after some of those times where I had some run-ins when a time, as a young teenage boy or, times where I probably wasn't doing the things I should have been doing late at night, this, that, whatever. But when I've had interactions with police officers that were like, hey, get home safely. Like, let's just get you home safe. Like, your license plate lights out, whatever. But they could have given me a hard time and didn't.
Sure.
Just because. And it's like, oh, like I'll always remember that. I mean, that was years and years and years ago where I don't remember anything. But I remember that one, state patrolman at 3:00 in the morning when I was 19 pulling me over for a license plate light and not being a jerk.
Yeah.
And going, hey, just checking up on you.
Yeah.
Like, get home safe. And it's like people like
and
that.
That goes a lot further than writing a ticket.
Yeah. And it
taking
has.
your license away, increasing your insurance, working for free the next week because you got to pay that ticket. And I think about stuff like that. I don't know if everybody does that job, but I do. I know at that age or even right now what a ticket like that would do to my plan for the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
My
Especially
plan
now.
But there's that fine line you got to dance around of I have a job to do also.
Yeah.
So it's hard. There is I had a person ask me the other day, I think we were talking, it was something along the lines of our retirement systems and how they were going down the drain, and the conversation came up of, if you could go back and do something else, what would you do? I said, I don't know if I could do anything else. I tried to do something else.
Yeah.
I mean, believe it or not, I wanted to be an art teacher. I mean, how much different can those be, man? I
don't know. You're dealing with a bunch of juveniles all the time, basically.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess so.
It's kind of so.
I guess so. You're right. In adults,
let's try to paint inside the lines now, folks.
There's some similarities there, I guess, if we break it down that way. But I don't know, man. I mean, I don't really know what else I could do. And again, I go back to that. You got your plan that you want to do, and then there's the one that the man's going to have you do. And I know for a fact I've been put in positions before that I know I was supposed to be there, type of deal. Something a little bigger than me going on, and I'm okay with that. I mean, if that's what he wants me to do, I'll do it. But I just got to think, that's a heck of a question. I'm not very good at anything except maybe that. And if that's what I'm supposed to do, I'll do it. I try to do it my way and do it the right way. But it's good. And I said, man, and I didn't expect this question from this person because they're not a real deep thinker. Not a real deep thinker. I mean, this is a guy that I had on the team that knocks doors down.
Yeah.
Just a big, strong
Breacher,
dude. And I'm like, where did you come up with that at, man? But that's a good question, and I just don't know. I mean, I know I'd love to play shortstop for the New York Yankees, but that ain't happening.
Yeah.
So
it's a tough gig.
Here I am. Here I am. But yeah, that was it. There's a lot that has changed. I don't know, coming full circle, what's going to go on in the future here. I think we're at a big time crossroads. Yeah, I mean, policing is going to change, whether we want it to or not. We have to adjust to that, but we kind of survive making adjustments. So I think we'll be okay.
My dad was actually law enforcement, and he said that was the only job he truly loved.
Yeah,
there was never any other job, and he's worked a lot of jobs, and he was like, I've never loved any job except for being law enforcement.
Yeah, and I understand where he's coming from, and I've probably never hated one as much either.
Yeah,
is that possible? Yeah, I think it is. A lot of times we let the negatives override the positives because we get used to the positives. We got that luxury of the positives. We get a lot of time off, and I think policemen need it. I think they need that to recharge those batteries and become part of the populace. Because when you're working those midnights and those afternoon shifts, you're really not normal. My wife could probably call in right now and tell you that I wasn't normal for 17 years because I was working midnights.
Yeah.
I was not part of the regular populace. I was just, it's a different lifestyle. I mean, you're out at night. You're like a nocturnal animal. I mean, you're sleeping in the day and you're working at night, and
it throws you off. I've done that for a tiny little bit, and just a tiny little fraction.
It does, man. And you're just wazzed all the time, and you live for that. And at the same time, it's killing you.
Well, not only that, but just the pressure that your police officers go through, and obviously different, areas and populous, metropolitan areas are a little different, or different areas of the country. But I mean, you look at how long have I said that America, just in general, like we've lived pretty comfortably compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Not only that, but then you look at the thing that kills me is, for the most part, just as a general statement, people give soldiers a little extra, wiggle room,
Sure.
Because they go over and they see things, and they, they get put through things that not the normal person hasn't gotten put through.
Definitely.
But they never realize that police officers do a very, very similar job with a fraction of the training.
Yeah. That's a key statement that you make there is the training. And I think if you look at a lot of your unsuccessful situations, I'll put it that way, you can usually dive into that person or that squad, and you can see that they've been vastly undertrained. And that is a big thing, and it's a reality because of money. You're talking to do quality training. It takes time, and time is money. And you're taking 5-6 guys off the road that are doing their normal patrol duties, and you're going to train them in a certain aspect of law enforcement. We have to pay people to go do their work while they're getting trained, and then you have to pay them while they're being trained, and you have to pay the guy that's training them.
Yeah.
So it's not as simple as line up training, go do it, go out and be a great policeman. And because I believe that if you're really going to be trained in something and be proficient at it, you got to do it more than once.
Yeah.
I mean, showing up and having a guy show you how to defuse a domestic violence situation, that's going to be great. And you might take 1 or 2 things from that. And I always tell the guys, you go to China, and look, we know when the trainings are going to suck. But if you can take 1 or 2 things from it, take it. Put it in your tool bag. Maybe you get a chance to use it. It was worth it. But it's really hard to do when you do it once. You go, if you went to that same guy and you did it over a 5-week period, you're probably going to come out of there better at handling those situations. If you go to a marksman class and you shoot 20 rounds, you're not really going to improve your shooting. If you go there and shoot 1,000 over a week's time, you're going to come back a lot better shot.
And then do it again.
And do it again. And then do it on your do it on your own. And then, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's police work, carpentry, concrete work. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And with our job, it's really hard to get really great at something new because you're going 100 other things, and then you got to come back and do this, and then go do your other 100,
right,
and still do those 100 at a very high level, or you get injured, hurt, they get injured, hurt, whatever. So it's hard to be proficient at everything, but repetition is the thing that's the key there. And we don't always get that chance to do that. I mean, it's a numbers game, and the numbers don't always come out in your favor.
Right.
One of the big things I'm hearing is, to be good at law enforcement, adaptability.
Yeah.
What would you say some other, key attributes or qualities that would make someone very good in law enforcement?
Well, I mean, inside that adaptability category, I mean, everyone. We have people say, he's the policeman. He's a person too. Yeah. So act like it. Don't march up there like the stormtroopers. Chances are that you're going to get off on the wrong foot right off the bat. Just be yourself.
So you think like either empathy or relatability?
There's something to that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not everyone is the bad guy.
True.
Now stay sharp for sure. Stay sharp for sure, but at the same time, again, realize this might be this person's only contact ever. The last thing they want to do is call the police. But they felt like they had no choice but to call the police. And to you, this is my 14th call today. I can't believe you're calling the police for this. And look, you think that, and that's fine. But you go up there and you be professional about it, and that's that adaptability. Make that person feel like this is the most important thing that you've been on all day. And it's not. It's probably not even close. But to them, it is. And you walk away from that better for that. That is it's a tough question, because you can almost answer that question with a lot of things under that adaptability, because the job and the day and the hour is never the same.
Sure.
There's this little, it's kind of like a superstition. No one ever says, "Man, it's quiet today." You're going to get a flashlight upside the head. You say that because that is not what you do. Because as soon as you do that,
ready for the shit
Kraken's coming out, man. Right. Get ready. But it literally changes minute, hour, day. To be able to adapt to that kind of ebbs and flows, it's important. I also think that one of the things that I would tell a young officer is, don't make this your life. This is a job, and it's very important, and you need to take it serious. But man, when you're off, don't hang out with a bunch of cops. Go hang out with your family. Go hang out with your brothers. Go hang out with someone other than a policeman. Because if you sit and you talk about this all the time, it's going to become such a monotonous, filled profession that you're going to end up not enjoying everything else going on around you. Right. I think it's important that you have friends outside the police force. Do things that aren't always cop related. I think that makes a more well-rounded policeman too. Because you get out there and you hang out with a bunch of people who aren't policemen. Not everybody's a dirtbag. No. These guys got the same problems we got. It helps you relate a little bit more to that guy when you say, "Hey, man, I know what you're saying." You can actually, I do know what you're saying, because I've been in that spot before where I don't know if I'm going to have enough money to make my payment. I don't know if I'm going to have enough money to do this. This is wearing on me. That's wearing on me. Yeah, I get it, man. Here's what I would do. So, yeah, I think I would say a little, that's what I tell, be well-rounded. Take this job serious, because it is a serious job. It's, you're given a great responsibility. But, man, when it's time to go home, go home.
Yeah.
Find you something to do. Go hunting, go fishing, work on cars, do, jujitsu, whatever it is you guys do. Find something to get into to where you're not thinking about this job all the time. I think that's a huge thing, because it can wear on you, and it can turn something into a negative that probably isn't a negative. A
lot of foresight. Some of the things you keep saying just keep on ringing. Just being able to look beyond. Yeah. Your current situation, and just life in general.
Yeah.
Having that foresight to look down the road and go, right, this isn't everything. Yeah. Or even that short-term proximity of, I can imagine, walking up to somebody and having the foresight to go, hey, this might be their only interaction with the police ever. Where does that come from? Because I feel like that's a huge thing that so many people are lacking these days, is just the thought of, hey, this isn't just right. Hey, I might have tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I got next year.
Like if you defund the police and then you call the police and they don't show up?
Yeah, like that? Yeah, I wasn't going that far.
That's so bizarre, because I just can't. That's really, and not just because I do it, but I really think that our police and our firemen and even our hospitals, things of that nature, I think that's really what separates us from everybody else. I think we have that order. You know, we have that difference between us and everybody else is our people that are willing to get out there and really take serving their hometown, their home county, their home city, whatever it might be, and make a career out of it. That's not an easy thing to do because you're never going to be in charge of it.
Yeah.
You're never going to be the only one that's ever done it. And you're never going to be rich.
And not everyone's going to like you for
and
it.
Right, and not everyone's going to like what you're doing. And that takes a heck of a thing to do. But there's everyone has a calling. Like I said before, I don't know what else I would do. I don't. I mean, I'd like to think I could do other stuff, and maybe that's because I haven't done anything else. I mean, if I got put in a situation, I think I could learn just about anything. But you've got that person. I was talking to my neighbor about this, which is a guy I think you guys might want to get on at some point. We'll talk about that later because I'm not giving you props on the air. But we were talking the other day, and in between flipping each other off across the yards, people have a switch, and if you can flip that switch, that's fine. A lot of people got a switch. They can flip it, and they can go berserk. But who can turn it off? And that's the difference. And I don't even know if you can do that or know that you can do that until you have to. You find yourself in situations where you have to become more violent than the person you're after. The difference is, can you shut that switch off? And when I talked about a calling, I'm not sure that everybody's got that. We all like to think we do.
Right.
I didn't know that I could do it because I'm one of those people that once I get my mind made up how something's going to go, it's going that way. And it might take 2 minutes, it might take 2 hours, it might take 2 days, it might take 2 weeks, but damn it, it's going that way. Once I get it there, I shut the switch off. I don't know that there's a lot of people that can do that. Blessing or a curse, I don't know. There's probably been a lot of things that I've missed out on because of that switch. There's probably been a lot of things that I've gained because of that switch too. That's part of your makeup. I think you got it or you don't. I think you fight or you back down. The difference is when it's over, can you shut it off?
Right.
You don't know until you get in there. So, and that's really what, to me, you find yourself in that position over my career 25, 30 times. It's not cops every night. It's not. I mean, you're going because
I hope not.
You're going because
you're
going. I'm sure it's like that at places.
You're right. No, for sure.
But it's not like that here. I mean, most of the time you're going because the neighbor's dog won't shut up. Okay, but still got to handle it, right? To be honest with you, I would much rather go to a 50-man bar fight than that dog call, because when you leave that dog call, no one's happy.
Right.
They're already pissed because they called you. Now you're going to go make them mad because the dog's barking. And 5 minutes after you leave, the dog's going to bark again. So now I'm mad. But you go to that bar fight, you're going to haul some people away and it's going to be over.
Right.
But that switch is in there somewhere. When you've turned it on, but can you turn it off? And that's when you say, can you do something else? I don't know, man. Where else does the switch fit?
Right. Well, I think too. Do you think that there's some trainability in that? Like, because we touched on the lack of training that police officers get here. And do you know Mike Manchek? He runs the jiu-jitsu gym out of Worcester.
I do not.
We had him on. He talked about how he has a lot of police officers in there.
I remember watching him on your.
Yeah,
you guys had him on the show like a week ago or something.
No, it was a month or so ago.
Okay, because I did a little
Yeah,
little background on you guys before I came in.
I'm sure
Figured.
you did.
I'm
sure you did.
Full FBI background checks.
Yeah, right. Well, but he talked about like, and there's been some proposals, higher up, like Andrew Yang proposed that, police officers should be a purple belt in jiu-jitsu because it's all about de-escalation and being able to de-escalate a situation. Mm-hmm. But Mike talked about it that, to be able to de-escalate something and not have to be aggressive. But at some point or another, you have to make the decision of, all right, do I have to be more aggressive than this person now?
Sure.
And do you think that's obviously there's some people that'll never have that switch, but do you think that's trainable to find that? Like, and more people than not?
I do. That in our line of work, I think a lot of that, and here's where I really benefited. It's the older guys that you get to know when you get there as a young officer. If you've got good older guys, veterans that can teach you the tricks of the trade, and you get a chance to shadow those guys and be with them and go through the training and see how they handle stuff. I mean, it's nothing short than miracle is not the right word, but it's nothing short of brilliance. Sometimes when some of these guys would go into these situations and walk out of there and everything's just fine because you hear on the radio, you read what comes on the computer, and you get there and it is a complete mess. And by the time you leave there, that house has probably never been better. Right. And not a punch was thrown, not a single use of force, nothing.
What do you think that is? What is that? They're able to do that?
Well, I think a lot of that's maturity. I think a lot of that is life experience. What these guys did before they became policemen. And there's just every person is mature at different times. I don't know necessarily that can be taught. I think it can be passed on, and you can be given those tools to work with, whether you choose to use them or not. That's up to you. But I think it's you got it or you don't, man. I mean, not everybody's an all-star, right?
Right.
I mean, there are guys that are really good at doing certain things, and then there's guys that you don't want them anywhere near your call because as soon as they get there, all hell's breaking loose because they show up to fight. They show up looking for reasons to take this guy, that girl, and everybody to jail. And we need those guys, believe it or not. There's a time for those guys, but there's also that trait and that intangible that some of these guys got that they can walk into that worst case scenario thing and not a thing has to be done. And to me, that's more impressive than anything. I always found that to be, that's a true policeman. And I would tell the young guys that a true policeman is a guy that goes into any situation and leaves it better than he found it. And if you can get that as being okay or cool, you're going to do very well in this job. Now look, there's going to be times you're going to have to go hands-on and you have to be ready to do that. I think that type of training with the fighting is awesome. And I wish that would have been a bigger part. I mean, that's something I could have done on my own. I mean, let's not count on the employer to give us everything.
Right.
Sure.
A lot of that's your responsibility to go out and make yourself better. And that's something that I probably should have done a lot more of. And I think that would benefit our guys a lot more today with the way things are now. The chances of you getting into it with someone, not to mention, we have a lot of people doing that on their own. Mm. So if you're not doing that, you're losing because you might go into a house with one of you two guys and have to go hands-on. And if you don't have that kind of training, you're at a real disadvantage. You may have to resort to something else.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, especially nowadays, there's so many people practicing, whatever it may be that you just never, or there's so many CCW.
Yes.
You never know what you're going to get into.
Home too.
Yeah.
And those guys are highly trained. And when you almost have to do that just to keep up.
Right. Well, I think too, we've talked about it. Do you know who Jocko Willink is? Mm-hmm. Yep. He talks about it. We've discussed it before where, someone who's highly trained like that, and obviously I'm not highly trained in basically anything, but I can completely understand what he's talking about with someone that's so highly trained, like a person like a SEAL or a Ranger or somebody that they know how to handle themselves.
Yeah.
They don't have to try to prove anything. They say, all right, well, I know how to handle the situation. Let's handle it, or let's walk away. Or, I think there's something to that, you know, it kind of goes back to the training aspect of just in general, people. Like the more you know and the more you try to understand, then the less you have to try to enforce your way on somebody.
Yeah. I mean, you know, don't show up assuming that everything's going to be bad. I mean, you got to show up sharp. You know, but don't go into that situation that, you know what, the only way we're getting out of this, man, is blasting our way out. You know, that's not.
It's in the movies.
No, it's not. That's not really. It's never happened. You know, or we're not gonna have to fight our way out of every call we go to. Again, I think our profession has a way of weeding those guys out. You know, unfortunately now a lot of them get weeded out on national TV. But before, I mean, you knew who was going to make it and who wasn't.
Right.
It was just by the way that they carried themselves when they're on the street, in someone's house, or even with their own people. You know if a guy's going to relate to how we do things here, or he's probably not going to make it. So can you fix all that? I don't know. I think a lot of that's on the person. You know, how willing are you to make that admission that you don't know anything?
Ooh, there's not a lot of people that can do that these days.
Right,
it's hard to do.
No.
To say I don't know damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, and I usually say that because it's true. I really don't know anything. I've been to a couple trainings with some really accomplished soldiers that were the instructors, and these guys are coming back, and they are, you know, there's 10 or 12 of us in the class, and they'll go right down the line and ask these guys, you know, where do you work? What do you do? What are you here for? And, you know, of course I try to sit in the back, but they start in the back. I'm like, you know, the guy says, you know, I asked me the question. I said, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so, been a policeman for X amount of years. I don't know a damn thing. That's why I'm here. You know, I mean, and the look on his face was, you know, I was like, he either thinks I'm trying to be an idiot or he really likes my answer. I'm not sure yet. Because he had that.
He probably wasn't sure either.
Well, no, he had that normal face where, like, he had nothing. When he looked at me and I said that, he went right to the next guy. Like, oh, well, this guy hates me. And he's going to shoot me as soon as he gets a chance. But later on at the break, he came up to me and said, you know, I really appreciate that answer. There's not a lot of guys that, he goes, you've been on the force the longest. And you said you didn't know a damn thing. He goes, no, I don't believe that. But I appreciate that approach that you took. I don't know anything. Teach me. It's hard to do.
It is.
You know, because you do take pride in some of your accomplishments. You do. You take pride in some of your skill set, but at the same time, you know damn well you're not the best at it. So show me how to get that good.
Yeah. That humbleness is hard to find.
Yeah.
Well, I started doing that years ago, just basically like, I don't know anything. Like, but because I realized that
worked on him, he hired you, right?
Oh no, I don't work for him.
You don't work for him?
No, I don't know. Fuck no, I don't work for that guy.
So that's why you guys get along so well.
Yeah.
Well, it's not because of me. I think it's because your brother-in-law is my business partner. So
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I used to work. Long story. I used to work for Corey. I don't know if you ever met Corey.
Saw him on the website when I was doing my check on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I worked with his business partner, my brother-in-law, for like 7 years. And then like they went off and they doing the rogue thing. And then everyone's always like, hey, like when you going rogue? I'm like, fucking never. Like I know those two guys. Like I'm great. I love them to death, but I'm never working for them. Like no way. But you know,
I don't know whether to feel offended. No, I'm just joking.
No, because I value our friendship. That's why.
I appreciate that.
Well, you know what? There's probably some truth to that. Honestly,
there is.
I mean, you joke about it a lot, but you know what? When you get put in that situation where you have to supervise friends,
Oh, it's tough.
it's a difficult thing, and that happens quite a bit. And it's not. Look, it's a lot easier when you are the supervisor. But the difficult part comes from a guy who is your friend. He's not the supervisor, and you're calling him out on something. It's harder on that guy to accept that. Then, and that takes a special person, and it's not always the leader gets a lot of the credit, but you have to have people willing to follow. And that's not in our line of work. That is, boy, they are few and far between. And most of the guys they're doing that job because they've got that alphaness about them, that they want to get out there and make a difference, and they're pretty confident in themselves. That's the type of guys you want, right?
You have to have a little bit of that.
Sure you do. You got to manage that. And a lot of those guys, and again, the switch thing, there's a time you want that switch off. You saw me do something wrong. Let me know what it was. Call me out. Let's get it right. So when we have to go do this stuff, we're all on the same page. That takes it takes guts to do that, especially in front of your peers. Yeah. So kudos to those guys.
Yeah, and like you said, I think it does take a lot. But kind of going back to what I was saying, I started doing that because I realized that, it makes it easier if I was saying like, yeah, I don't know anything. Like, well, then eventually
the expectation level.
The expectation level is low, but eventually people start like the instructor. No, I don't buy that shit. Yeah. But okay, I appreciate it, but I don't buy it.
Yeah, after the first round of shooting, you know what you're doing. But he appreciated the fact that I didn't stand up there and hold up my list of accomplishments and read them all off. I didn't have the list anyway, but still, I get what he was saying.
Yeah, and I think there's some people that would say that's almost arrogant to do that. But to me, I'd rather have somebody that's passively arrogant and saying I don't know shit than someone that's actively arrogant. At least in their they seems like they have their mind open to okay. Yeah, maybe I can learn something.
And that arrogance could come out later on in that training when you start to overcoach. He's trying to tell you something and you go over his head and say this or that. That's kind of statement your actions have to carry out throughout that whole training in order to make that opening statement stick.
I would imagine arrogance puts a target on you too.
It does. And guys find that right away.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you said you were, this good or that good, I'd be like, that's a dude I'm taking
out. You want to partner up? Yeah. I mean, that's what I...
and if you are, then I'll learn something
from you. That's exactly right. One or two things. Either you're going to kick my ass or I'm going to kick yours.
Yeah.
But either way, we're partnering up.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people that want to do that. But that's what we're there for, right? I mean,
there's a big difference between confidence and arrogance too. So maybe I should specify.
Yeah, that, yeah. I mean, you can feel confident that you know what you're doing, but you can also have that emotion inside of you that says, "Man, you know what? This may not be your day. Just dial it down." You have good days shooting, and you have bad days.
Yeah. Walk the line of confidence, but kind of peer down into the abyss of arrogance.
For sure.
It takes a lot of control though, and it comes back to honesty with yourself.
If you're honest, it's that thing. If you're honest, you never have to worry about the lies you told.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, if that's really how you are, which I am. I mean, I know I can do a lot of stuff, but I also know that there's by no means am I the standard of anything. So let's put it out there and see where it goes.
We've had that conversation a while ago too, is just being realistic with, if you can be realistic and honest with yourself, then being realistic and honest with other people, it's only going to, in a selfish way, it's only going to benefit you because it's,
sure.
Hey, this is, I don't know. I might be good. I might not. Like, we'll see. And then if you are good, then okay, great.
Well, it's the first thing I said to you when I got here. I have no idea why you want to talk to me, but I mean, this might be the shortest one you guys have ever done in your history.
Oh, we'd be 25 minutes already, so we're good.
So I'm not the worst. See?
Yeah.
No, I think it goes like what you were saying, that honesty and that self-appraisal, and I think that's how you learn.
Yeah.
But constantly
I like
learning.
that. Self-appraisal, being honest with your self-appraisal. Oof.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
that's a tough one to swallow.
And the thing about that is no one's ever going to know you did it but you.
Yeah. And usually no one's ever going to be tougher on your yourself than
That's
you.
how it should be, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Absolutely right. And I think a lot of times people confuse that too with a guy being arrogant. Oh man, this guy thinks he should win everything. Yeah. Why don't you? You know, if I look up on the board there, the scores, and I'm in the middle, I'm not really happy with that. You know, I'm realistic. The guys ahead of me are really damn good, but I'm not here to get in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to the top, and if I do the best, whether it's weightlifting, fighting, shooting, whatever that competition might be, and I walk away saying, "Man, I didn't win it, but that's the best day I ever had." I got better. Yeah. So that's what we're there for.
I think a lot of people too. They're constantly comparing themselves to somebody else, and that could be okay as like a maybe be like a career aspect of, all right, well, this person can do this, I need to get to their level. But when you constantly compare yourself to other people and then some of those people, going back to the arrogance aspect of it, it's like, well, they shouldn't have won, or they're not better than me because this, that, whatever. Well, no, just get better.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the comparative analysis for growth. Yeah. So if you can take that and you can go, well, I'm doing this because I'm trying to grow and make myself better. And, being around those guys, if you're on the SWAT team, like, hell yeah, I want to be as good as this guy. Like,
sure.
And I want this guy to be as good as me. Like, we might go through a door and we might get in a situation that's, hairy, right. and I want the best. I want the best. I want
everyone around me to be better than me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best to be the best that I can be.
That's exactly right.
And then encourage them to be better.
Sure. And I think a lot of team leaders, whether it's police stuff, military stuff, or whatever, they're probably not the most efficient operator on their team. And I think they're all good with that. I think they are very happy that they've got those guys to a level where they at least meet or exceed their own capabilities. Now they're leaders and in charge of that stuff because they have a quality that can raise people's performance, and that those people will follow them. They're willing to do that stuff. But we would always, when we would have our shootings several times a year, we would everybody would get ranked.
There's no SWAT participation trophy.
No blue ribbon.
If there was, we would have shot it.
Good.
But you would get ranked, and that's where you would be at in entering the house, trailer, school, whatever it might be. And guys wanted to be at the top. They wanted to look up there and say, "Okay, man, I went from 3 to 1. I'm first in, baby." And if you don't have guys wanting to do that, then you're not going to have a really effective team. And it's the same with, I could imagine that you get your most, your biggest jobs. Guys I would want to go be in on those big jobs.
Yeah.
And I want to go, hey, he trusts me to go do this. This is a mega job, man.
Yeah.
He's trusted me to do this. I'm going to go kick ass for him.
Yeah, the ODOT jobs with prevailing wage, or the job that's in front of the president of the College of Worcester's house, or
stuff like that. My performance is going to put me on that crew that gets sent to that job.
Yeah, and my company's, a company of meritocracy, which I would imagine, SWAT is too. Like you said, you do good.
Such a disgusting
he's using these
word.
$10 words. I'm not.
Well, I better. The microaggressions are coming out.
Yeah. Calm down. Don't talk to me about meritocracy. How disgusting. You want me to do something to earn things?
That real quick, I'll respond. But no, I think that's true. I think you got to have that though. And I also think, and I've seen in part of my little research on you, I see you out doing those jobs too.
Yeah.
I see you cutting trees up. I see you driving the vehicles. I see you doing stuff.
Well, I don't get to do that as much, but I love doing it because I know my guys are hungry and they're going to be like, dude, the boss.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, I'll kick every one of these guys' asses.
Yeah.
And I might not actually do it, but in my mind,
try.
I'm going to try. And,
sure.
And they see that and they're busting their balls even harder.
You're right. And I think it's important that if you go through that shoot house with those, you do that obstacle, you do that cold weather training that you do where it sucks. You set it up, it sucks. So you better go do it.
Yeah.
You know, don't ask these guys to put their hands in a frozen water for 30 seconds and pull their pistols out and shoot it unless you're going to do it too.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had the mentality, and I bet you do too. Like, you know, if these are my troops and I'm the general, like, I want to be the first one in battle.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's important, man. I mean, especially when you're talking about a job that could cause injury, you know, that could be a serious thing that has ramifications throughout not just your department, but people's lives and families. You know, you want to take that serious, and you want to know what you're asking these guys to do. I think if you're not going to go do it yourself, then you can't have those guys go do it either. There were several times that we had chances to go out and do things, and I decided that we weren't going to do it because it wasn't worth the risk. And of course, guys would get pissed. Man, can you mean we could have went out? Why didn't we? I said, look, guys, to me, it's not. I'm not going to your house and looking your wife or your kids in the eye and saying you're not here anymore because of this. It's not worth it. Sorry, you can get pissed at me all you want. I don't care.
I feel like I haven't been in that situation per se, but I feel like I would respect you a lot for that because, I mean, that means you actually care about my life. You give a shit about my life, and it has value and worth. So
yeah, I mean, look, these guys are your friends. These aren't disposable people on a screen. I mean, these are the guys that you're going to go get lunch with tomorrow. You're going to work on cases together. You're going to talk about kids going to school, sports. You know, you're going to complain about this. You're going to complain about that together, and you share lives.
Call of Duty is not part of your qualification.
Man, we'd have a legion full of SWAT guys, wouldn't we?
Well, and then too, I think it breaks down to me. It's, you know, you talk about that teamwork, and, you know, people they like to equate it to a football team, or, you know, you're playing on a team, this, that, whatever. And, you know, I guess to me, I just kind of clicked it. When people talk about, you know, being on a football team or a baseball team and basketball, you know, you're playing as a team and all these different analogies for being on a team. And it's like, to me, it was always like, yeah, okay, well, you're playing a game. I get it. Like, it's inspirational, but it's a game. But then when you see these guys that are in, you know, the police force or the military, and there's a brotherhood there, and going all the way back to, it's sad to me because we've lost that kind of fellowship with our fellow human beings. When really, if you really boil it all down, like we're all on the same rock, just trying to live a happy life and not die for a while. So
because we are all dying.
We're all, like we said.
Bro, if you tell me that rock is flat, I walk out the door.
I know. I wasn't going to go there. I could talk about aliens, though. I had to bring it up. You brought it. You started it. No, but so I think, I don't mean to get all woo-woo with it, but I think if people just realized, even if they every once in a while just thought about when they go to the grocery store and some lady cuts them off, and all right, well, you know, there's people out there that are jerks, but we're all just here trying to do the same thing, survive and be happy. And it's sad that, to me, that only sometimes those things get brought to light with, you know, police force or military guys or your gals and, you know, people doing dangerous jobs. Well, you know, we're all going to die. Like, why can't we think about, hey,
enjoy it while we're
enjoy
here.
it while we're here. Why do we always have to be so contentious? And obviously there's things that we're going to fight over, but you know, I guess maybe even bring it back to the police thing is regular people looking at officers and, you know, different people that, hey, they're just people too.
Yeah.
Maybe we should consider that and think, all right, let's work together. Like,
so in considering that, like civilian interaction with you, law enforcement, what makes that interaction easy for you? What makes it comfortable for you? Like, what would you say to civilians? Like, hey, here's a pretty good way to interact with law enforcement, and things are going to go smoothly.
Be honest. You know, 9 out of 10 times, we're just looking for a little bit of honesty. If you got to understand that most of the time, I might be giving away a little secrets of the trade here, but most of the time we already know the answer to the question we're asking. You know, it's almost like it's like being a parent.
I was just going to say that sounds like
parents. It's really no different. So you can start that whole thing off on the right foot, or you can start that off on your way down the road.
Right.
You know,
Billy, you got cookie crumbs all over your face. Who ate the cookies, Billy?
yeah,
who ate them?
It wasn't me. It was, so we're already off to the wrong foot. But being honest, I don't know how many times that you catch a guy speeding and he's grossly over the speed limit. And you go up there and the guy's honest or the girl's not. Hey, sir, you know what? I am late for work. I've already been late twice, and if I don't make it, I'm going to get fired. I know exactly what I was doing. Okay, where are you going? Well, I'm going over here to so-and-so. You know what? Take off, and I'll follow you. I don't want to see you lose your job, because if I write you this ticket, you're going to be 25 minutes late.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep it reasonable. Get there, and the next time someone asks you about the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, tell them you had a positive experience. See ya. Then again, you could go up there and you could get called every name in the book.
Sure.
Say you're a liar. I wasn't doing that. And just be honest, really. I mean, that's all you're looking for. Is you want people to be honest with you, because that's really what you're trying to portray. Look, I'm here trying to do an honest job. I didn't pick you out of the phone book to pick on you today. I didn't see your car and say, man, I really want to know about that car. I'm pulling that person over. I mean, you did something to get my attention.
Sure.
So let's get off on the right foot by just being honest. And I think that'll go so far with people. I mean, really, and it doesn't mean you're not going to get cited.
Sure.
But it might mean that interaction
It might be a little better.
might be a little bit more. You might get a seatbelt ticket instead.
Sure.
Right.
So yeah, I think a lot of that stuff, people determine their own outcome.
I think there's a lot to that too. I don't know. I was listening to a podcast with Matthew McConaughey, and it was the first time I ever really listened to him, just because I thought he was kind of out there.
He is out there.
Yeah,
a little
I mean,
bit,
I think a lot of
says some things
actors
that
are.
make
He's a great
sense,
actor.
Yeah,
I really
I
like
think
his
you'd
shows.
kind of have to be a little out there, but he's great. But he made someone asked him about trusting people or something like that, and he was like, "Well, I trust everyone until they give me a reason not to."
Yeah.
And it was like, well, it's really good, because to me, I've tried to do this in my recent years is, approaching everybody with that honesty, and until you give me a reason to go, what? Like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, why not?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I could see that as soon as somebody has that, like, your thought of, no, this person's lying to me.
Yeah.
You're automatically going to be defensive.
What else are they lying about?
Yeah. All right. What else? Like,
Yeah.
how can I trust you?
Yeah. My dad said something a little bit different. I said, like, early on, and like I said, he was law enforcement. So I got some, I don't know if I can call it good advice. I don't, I wouldn't say it was good advice.
That advice is pending.
It was useful in certain situations. But he said two things, and he said, so you were saying McConaughey said I trust everyone. So my dad always said, son, he said two things I'm going to tell you. He said you better not fuck up, and he said, and you don't trust anyone. And he was underwater demolition too. He was in Vietnam. But the one thing he said is, and it wasn't, he said don't trust anyone, but he said respect everyone until they don't give you a reason to respect them.
Yeah.
Right.
I can buy that.
And so I would imagine that respect goes kind of hand in hand with that honesty, you know, when you're having an interaction with someone.
Yeah, I mean, I've had interactions with guys that I really don't know who they are, and they'll say, "You don't know who I am?" No. Well, you guys have arrested me hundreds of times. I haven't.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought you'd be taking me to jail. Why would I do that?
Right. Did you do something?
I don't. Yeah, I mean,
to take you to jail?
I mean, and that happens a lot.
Would you like to confess something?
Sure. I mean, if we can, I'm sure we can find something, but no. I mean, I don't. That happens a lot where guys would just assume they've been in trouble before.
Yeah.
So this guy coming up, it's going to know who I am. It's not going to be fair to me, and I'm going to jail. I truly don't know who you are, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you, but I don't know you.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like, are you a celebrity or are you a super criminal? I'm not
Sure.
It's like,
I mean,
I got warrants.
yeah.
I mean, I'm having a conversation with you right now because it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you don't have your headlights on.
Yeah.
You know, that's what this talk is all about. If you do it again, I'll know who you are. But no, I mean, I think people are responsible for their outcome more than they want to say so.
Ooh, there it is.
I mean, I really do. And look, that goes for me too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a two-way street. And I always, I have been told that my demeanor, my tone, and my, point blank, full frontal honesty a lot of times comes off really bad. Like, you are very, very unapproachable, which I don't really see myself that way, but okay. And a part of that I'm okay with. And the other part of it is sometimes that doesn't always benefit me, and especially when I need information.
Yeah.
I want to be someone that a guy could sit down with and say, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to trust that you're not going to tell them where it came from. And that's really that's a lot of what our work is networking with people who don't want to network. And they have to be able to trust you. And I take that serious. A guy tells me something like that, I really take that serious, and I try to honor that, because in a small world like this, you're going to end up running into that guy again.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, I think that's something that, again, we control our own outcome in most of that stuff. Just by the way we behave and the honesty.
Yeah.
If I can't promise that guy it's going to stay on the down low, I'll tell him. Look, I can't, I can't promise you they won't know. Having said that, if you're willing to talk, I'm willing to listen, but I'm not going to make you a promise I can't keep.
Right.
And a lot of times that doesn't work out in my favor, but still goes a long way with me 6-8 months down the road when I run into that guy again. Now he can help me.
Right.
So
he knows you stuck by the words you said.
Sure. And I think that's important.
I think that's one of the most important things in life in general.
Yeah.
Keeping your word.
Yeah, it really is. And
Yeah.
even
Isn't that
if
crazy we're even talking about that?
Yeah.
It just drives me crazy that is something that we have to talk about as an accomplishment.
Right. Well, I also think, I don't think people realize like what that really means. And I with my daily job, I haven't really talked about it exactly, but I do a job that can upset people very easily. And, the approach that I take, and I deal with a lot of different people, is, I've told them, I said, look, I'm just going to be honest with you. I said, my goal here is to do my job and to leave your property with you being the least amount of pissed off as I can. I said, because there's going to be times where I have to do something that you're not going to like.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it in the most open, honest, communicative way. You know what I'm going to do. This is what we have to do. And I want you to be as happy as I can leave you.
Yeah.
Even if that's basically zero. I don't want to cause you any more harm or any, more grievance. And people don't realize, though, I think a lot of people, especially with family, or their friends, they'll make a comment. They try to do little white lies here and there to make them feel better. Yeah. Well, it's like, that's not going to help anybody out. Because 6 months later, when you go back on it, it's like, well, you said, well, I tried to do that. No, like, just be honest. Like, hey, I can't promise anything.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. I mean, it's crazy as it sounds. That is a true virtue that you look for with people that you want to hang out with. I would rather a guy tell me that he can't be honest.
Yeah.
Than to tell me he is and then find out he's not.
Yeah.
And I would rather have a guy say, "Look, man, I'm not going to promise you that because I don't think I can deliver on that."
Yeah, but that's honesty.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like,
or I don't trust myself with that information. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hard thing to say, but it's something that the other side really appreciates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're not going to get caught later on with your pants down because you trusted this person.
Yeah.
That goes, to me, that kind of stuff goes without saying, but
should go without saying.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So so we got McConaughey with the truth. We got my dad pending, and I heard you say, you alluded to this about and I love this, personal accountability and personal responsibility.
Yeah.
So your son, what advice are you giving your son? just
gee whiz,
in
man.
general. I'm sure there's some doozies you've said, to him, which I'd love to hear them. But
I mean, it's just, there's you got to be accountable for what you do, and we took a trip last night to Cabela's. We were looking for stuff. We needed to go do something, and we were talking about him coming up shortly with the opportunity to be going to these parties. And you're gonna have people wanting you to come to these parties, and there's gonna be things there that you don't need to be associating yourself with. And we were talking about the selection process for things that he might want to become. The difference between getting the okay to go try out and not might be what you do next week, might be what you do next year. Mm-hmm. Decisions that you make now could affect your plans down the future. So we were talking about stuff like that, and it really, you asked me what do I say to him? I try to do more things by actions.
Sure.
And we have conversations, but I mean, I think he's a lot like me when, you can sit here and tell me all the BS you want to. Show me.
Yeah.
And what he said to me was, it's kind of like one of those deals where I got a feeling like, okay, man, I'm starting to make a little bit of progress here. He says, Dad, I'm not going to do anything like that because I'm not going to disgrace our last name. And I'm like, yeah, I'm making some headway here. Not that I wasn't before, but for a kid that's 15 years old to have that kind of concept of what's going on, and appreciate the fact that his last name also goes with Mom, it goes with his younger brother, it goes with me, it goes to his grandparents, it goes to his grandpa that's not here anymore, it goes to everybody. That was kind of a proud moment, and it was one of those. Our little conversations here and there they've chipped away to the point now where we're starting to make an impact. And I've always tried to do things more by action. We have those conversations, but they're just words. They are. I mean, some words can be meaningful, like the things that your dad has told you that have stuck with you, and you can recite them just like that, and that's great.
Still pending.
Some of them are pending. But, when I'm dead, he's going to remember what I did.
Sure.
And that might be tomorrow. That might be 10 years from now. Who knows? But when no one's looking, he's going to remember what I did.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll remember some of my talks, I hope.
It's those words in action.
Yeah. Show me. And I'm more about that.
I like that.
So, but I like having said that, I like what I see from him. So that makes me proud.
True.
Yeah.
It's hard too, especially, I remember being a teenage boy who,
look, man, it would suck being a kid now.
Oh man,
I gotta be honest.
I can't imagine because I'm just old enough that I didn't have the internet burst.
Yeah.
I still remember it to this day. The first cell phone I had, I had my mom, single mom, and right when I got my license, she said, "All right, like the only reason I'm getting you one of these is because I need to be able to get a hold. I need to know where you're at because I got my license and I had this
giant flip phone.
Yeah,
thing.
It wasn't even a flip. It was before flip phones.
It's like a bag phone.
It wasn't. It was after that. I'm in between those days. It was like it was a Nokia, and it was like a really small like home phone now, like where you sit in the dock. Like it was one of those. But I can't imagine being in high school with social media and all the things out there, and there's just there's so much input being put in, through these kids' eyeballs and ears and everything. Like,
well, it's nothing sacred.
Yeah.
There's nothing sacred anymore. The kids nowadays, they're no worse than we were.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
And I might even argue that we were worse.
Yeah.
But again, when we had that conversation earlier about having the worst day of your life on video.
Yeah. It doesn't go away.
No. And these kids, they've all got phones. So everything they do is Insta Face or whatever it is, Instagram. I call it wrong on purpose because I don't like any of them.
Right.
But there's nowhere sacred for them.
Yeah, it's hard. There's nowhere to hide from it all.
No, there's no bonfire on the county road where you can get away from everybody and just be kids. I mean, it's really difficult nowadays to go through life unscathed.
Yeah, and then that's the hard thing. It's like how do you? I can't even imagine being a teenager trying to navigate the world with all of that.
No,
because it's stupid pressure. It's worthless pressure. But it's still like if a lot of people are like, oh, don't worry about what's on social media, like this, that, whatever. But man, when you're a teenager, you know what they say, your frontal cortex or whatever doesn't even basically form until like your early 20s.
Sure.
Like, they don't know how do you navigate through all that as a teenager, and it's so hard. I can't imagine. I have a younger daughter that's going to be a teenager in a few years, and it scares the hell out of me. But
no doubt.
What are you going to do?
You've got to educate yourself on it, and really, that's been a pain in the butt for me because I am not a tech guy.
Right.
But I have to know what's going on there for my kids and for my work. Mm. I mean, you can get boat raced now if you're not up on the times. I mean, there's criminal activity going on out there right under your nose on this thing, so you got to be hip to that stuff. But if you have children, you really need to be in tune with it because there's a lot of dangers out there associated with that. And look, it's not important to us what other kids say about other kids, but it is to them. Yeah. And you have to be, I don't know, I hate using the word sensitive. You have to be in tune with that.
Yeah.
Not and things are crisis to them. Mm-hmm. They're not to us, but they're important to them. So they're important to us. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a tough. I wouldn't want to be a kid now. No way. I'd like to be that age again, but I wouldn't want to go through what they're going through now.
Well, that's important too. And I was thinking, and I think this is a discussion with just social media and just across the board with even grown-ups, and that we mentioned the cancel culture, whatever. Yeah. But I think for us, we need to find, I think this is a big piece of it. How do we get people redeemed? Because, there's so many people these days that are doing things that are getting canceled or getting, this online bullying in the reverse way. Now that, the people that used to be so against bullying, now it's like, well, now that it's online, it's okay now. We can use reverse bullying to make you conform. But there's got to be a way for us as humans to come back, to say, hey, you know what? I messed up. I did something wrong, and I think particularly someone in your shoes, there's people that I think everyone can agree that can't be saved. There's the people out there that are beyond the spectrum of bringing back into civilization. But I think for the most part, most people, we all make mistakes. We all screw up. Sometimes we screw up and do something illegal. Sometimes people screw up and do something really illegal. Yeah. But does that mean that one event, that one action that, whether it be caught on tape or not, or whatever it is, does that mean that that's the end of our life now? Like, how do we bring people back? Like, how do we actually have reform, not only for the criminals, but for the people,
for the everyday person.
Yeah. For the everyday person that just said something wrong once or a slip of the tongue, like, how do we come back to just being people and treating people like people?
Well, I think it starts with honesty. If you're if you're the one that made that mistake and you truly are apologetic, you got to own it. Hey, look, I made a mistake. I said a few words I shouldn't have said in front of some people that I shouldn't have said it in front of. It's a bad move. You got to own it, and then from there, actions. I don't want to get on here and talk about it. Right. I upset some people in this genre. Next week I'm going out and I'm doing this. And if you want to come out and watch me do it, you can come out, but I'm going to go do it, and then go do it. So kind of put your money where your mouth is type of thing. Is that possible in all circumstances? I don't know. Right. But, I don't know. Sometimes you're not ever getting that boat to come back to the dock. It's gone. But if you really want to redeem yourself, then I think you got to do, the talking is the start of it, but you got to have some action. You got to get out there and you got to make it happen, and you got to own it, and you got to move on from it. And I think a lot of that responsibility, though, comes from the other side, where you look at that and hey, this guy did he as far as I'm concerned, he paid his debt. It's time to move on. And that comes from your grounding of what do you believe in? I mean, what do you believe in? You can't be closed-minded that you never give somebody another at bat.
Right. What's even hard now too? Like, how do you? There's certain situations where you didn't do anything wrong, but people are telling you did.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
How do you combat that? Because I think that's the new one now, right? Like it's like that's not what I said.
So I'm not going to apologize for what I did, type thing, right?
Yeah, but
because I believe in what I'm doing.
Right, but then you just look like more of an arrogant asshole. So it's like, how do we navigate these?
I'll wear that hat proudly.
Well,
I mean, there comes a point where you have to.
So you have to take a stand at some point, right?
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
So
again, I think that a lot of that comes back to your core values. Hey, look, this is what I believe. This is what I believe based on, what I've been taught, what I've seen to be true, what I believe to be true, whether that be from a religious side or just an experience side. This is what I believe in. I'm not going to apologize for it. Sometimes it's up to them to remove their self from the problem.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Andrew wanted to sit down and have a conversation with him to listen to, why do you think the way you think, or why do you think what I'm doing is wrong? Well, here's why I don't think it's wrong. Here's why I was raised. And then, maybe we can try and understand each other, not agree, but hopefully understand each other. But I know there's tons of circumstances where that's not true, because as I was listening to you say, hey, you need to be honest, then it starts with words, then there's actions. This is, I was thinking of Kevin Hart, where he made that stand-up comment about, about gay people. And all of a sudden they just blasted him, and he went on and he said, I'm sorry, I apologize. I think he was on Ellen, and it wasn't good enough. And he apologized again. And then they were like, they just pounded him. And he was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not talking about it. He goes, I'm done talking about it. I said what I said. I made my apologies. I'm at peace. Yeah. You're not at peace. You need to find peace, basically.
Yeah, at that point it's on you, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, really, a lot of the problem, you're keeping the problem alive. Now, are you just looking for a problem, or do you want a solution? Yeah, there's a difference.
It really kind of comes back to, you said, sit down and have a conversation. To me, and I haven't been in any of those situations really to that extent before, but if someone's willing to sit down and have a conversation with me, then okay, maybe we can do something.
Yeah.
If someone's willing to, look in the eye and be honest, okay, maybe we can do something. But to me, like you said, if someone's just, it's not good enough, good enough, we need more, and then just well, what am I supposed to do?
When I can't make it enough type deal.
It goes back to what you guys were saying. Maybe the boat's not going back to the dock ever.
No, and you got to be ready to live with that at some point. That, look, this one's gone. It's not coming back. Sorry you feel that way, but we need to keep going forward.
Yeah.
So
I got to keep living my life. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
As soon as you feel like talking,
sure,
I'll be here.
And most of the time, those things do pass, because there's a new shiny penny tomorrow that someone's going to be mad about, and they'll forget about you.
I don't know. How do people do that? I mean, I've run into so many people that they're just angry all the time. Like, how?
That sounds exhausting.
It does. Like, and there's a thing, like, I've dealt with a lot of elderly people that, not a lot, most elderly people you run into are, once you start talking to them, they're as happy as can be, because they realize, like, hey, like, I've done it all.
He's not one of them.
Yeah. Whatever it is. But like, there's some older people that they're just miserable, and they just want to make everybody else, like, how have you gone your entire life so angry at everything? Like, I don't understand how people can do that. Well, I guess I can, because I used to be that way. But once you realize, like,
but that many years of it, though, I mean,
exactly.
You were still young.
Eventually I got to, in my mid-20s, I was like, something's got to change. Yeah. I'm going down.
Change your attitude or die.
Yeah, and that's so it's like, I don't know how people just stay so negative.
Some of that stuff. You live a longer life. You're going to experience a lot more bad things probably than you are good ones. It's just the nature of the game, right? And let's not overlook the fact that there might be some mental health issues there with some of that.
Very good point.
Because you're talking about a generation that didn't ask for help.
Right.
They're not going to go sit down with a shrink and get things worked out. They're just not. And you can probably throw me in that category too. Probably not going to do that. I'll find my I'll find another way to deal with it. But I have options that most people don't. Maybe these folks never had the opportunity to even look into another way to talk about the things that they went through. Their son was killed. Their wife of 50 years died. There could be so much more to that onion.
Right.
Are most of them pretty cranky? Bet your ass they are. But once you start talking to them, you can find out a lot about them, that they're just looking for someone to talk to. As much as they hate people, all they really want is someone to talk to. And not just maybe even have the conversation with them, but listen to them.
Yeah.
Because there's people are the most cruel to their own family. And that's my experience with doing my job, is that people can be most cruel to the ones that are considered their family. And it's a lot easier for me to hurt you when you love me.
Yeah. Do you think that's a good aspect or point there? Do you think it's because the closer you are to someone, just because it's easier to hurt them because you're close, or is there a comfortability level there, or like what?
Well, I mean, I think that there's a lot of times we don't tell people even how much we care about them.
Yeah.
So a lot of these times you don't really know what you're doing, because you're not aware of the feelings that they have for you. So you not coming to Thanksgiving is not a big deal for you, but to them it's devastating. They only have so many Thanksgivings left.
Right.
That's a big deal for them. To me, it's a pain in the ass to get everybody rounded up and drive to house to house to house.
Right.
But to them, they look forward to that event the entire year, because it's the one time they have their family in their house again. True. So, this stuff going on that crushes a lot of that, man.
Coming in heavy right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly.
How's 2020 been treating you?
I know
a lot of people are obviously it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. This will air later, but I think a lot of people have been.
I tell you, for me, it hasn't changed a damn thing. It really hasn't. I still go to work. I still go hunting. I still go fishing. I still work on cars. I still do. For my wife, it's been very difficult. I maybe difficult's not the right. She's had to adjust a lot more than I have. She works from home. The kids are at home. Right. She's juggling 5-6 different jobs, and I'm just going to work.
Right.
So it's been a lot more difficult on everybody but me. In a lot of ways, it's made my job easier. We have things have changed only in what we're asked to do.
Yeah.
But it really hasn't been personally on me really much different than any other year. It really hasn't. I know that's probably not the answer you were looking for.
No. I think it's super interesting, because obviously a bunch of people around the nation in different areas I think are affected by it so drastically differently. Would it be? I'm lucky enough that I quote unquote have an essential job.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'm able to work from home. So like for me, it's been great. Yeah. Honestly, 2020, besides, the negative aspects, the highlights of in general, for me personally, in my personal life, it's been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I mean, we started doing this, and like I've learned a lot. I picked up reading much more than I used to, like different things like that. But for some people, it's so weird. Like, you could live next door to somebody that is living an entirely different 2020 than the person right beside them, because and it's all out of their hands in some aspects.
And it's weird, as I might even piggyback off that a little bit. There's been a lot of things about it that I've liked. It's weird and cynical as that sounds. Guess what I saw right off the bat? I saw kids outside playing.
Right? Because they got bored inside finally.
Right? People on their properties outside.
More. People are out walking.
Outside actually walking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we should have been doing this anyway.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm a small business owner,
right,
people that are listening to this that own small businesses, they don't want to hear me talk.
Right.
They're telling me right now, you're so full of shit. You shouldn't even be able to talk.
Yeah.
And I understand that. And that goes back almost full circle to our conversation here is you might be going and dealing with at a call where this guy is in the middle of losing his life's work.
Yeah.
And I can't relate to that. I can't look that guy in the eye and say, look, man, I understand what you're going through, because I don't. All I can hear and tell you is if you do this, this isn't going to help your situation.
Right.
Let's take a walk a minute. Let's do something else here other than what you were planning on doing or were doing. It's been tough on people that way.
Yeah.
That's something that I and our officers have had to adapt to. We're dealing with people that we would normally never have an interaction with, but they are in such stress over what's happening. They're losing everything they got. And it's not relatable.
Right.
It's not. All you can do is be an honest person and try to understand.
Well, and I hope, and I think part of our hope from doing this and having conversations with people and, just tying into that, I hope that people that are in a position that, their life hasn't changed, or even that if it's gotten better, that we can see, on a human level, going back to, hey, we're all just trying to get through this thing.
Yeah.
To give some people, sometimes all people need is a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
A little bit of honesty, just enough. Instead of giving them enough rope to hang themselves, give them enough grace to save themselves.
Yeah.
And I've seen that a lot of times with people I've talked to, that first, 5-minute interaction, or this, that, whatever, and they're real confrontational, whatever it is. And, maybe you take that 30 seconds or a minute to talk to them. And then all of a sudden it's, all right, now I can see the real person.
Yeah.
And they're,
yeah.
once you can kind of filter it down to, hey, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Instead of just, but people, it's been a rough year for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there's millions of people out there that can't
It's
eat. They're losing their house. They're losing their businesses. Like you said, their life's work. I can't imagine that. Maybe that's why I was never a small business owner, because I was too afraid of my failure. But,
sure.
so,
you're talking about something now that nobody ever thought they'd ever have to plan for.
And no fault of their own. That's the hard thing.
Yeah. Right.
What can you do?
That's right. It wasn't like a bad business decision to put you out of business. You were forced.
Yeah. No wonder people are so pissed off.
Sure. And how am I going to relate to that? I don't know.
Right.
All I can do is try to be honest with them. I'm not going to sit there and lie to the person. Listen to them. Maybe they just want someone to vent to. Okay.
Yeah.
I would rather you do that with me than go downtown here and cause a ruckus and make me have to make a bad decision.
Right.
I don't want to do that to you. You need to be out here. You need to be here working on getting yourself back on your 2 feet, however that might be. And if I can point you in the right direction, let's do it. So, that's we've had to adjust for that. But no, you can definitely tell in our community that things are different. There's things happening that no one ever thought would happen. But I've also seen a really, really awesome job of business owners adapting. Just coming up with ways, just like true American ingenuity, man, figuring a way around the problem.
Right.
Instead of going in a hole and covering up, rolling up their sleeves and figuring out a way around it. There's a loophole to everything.
Right.
And they're finding it, and God bless them for doing it.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
Yeah. That's great, and I'm all for that. Make it happen, man. We need you.
That was Naval Ravikant's observation, or kind of his argument with, he was a guy on Rogan, super cool guy. If you haven't watched that podcast, definitely check it out.
Yeah, a lot of his stuff. He has his own podcast where he goes through.
But he was talking about artificial intelligence, and he was saying like how he doesn't, they were worried about artificial intelligence and replacing, us.
Right.
And he was like, I don't believe that. He's like, anytime technology comes along, he goes, we adapt. We as human beings are just brilliant at adapting. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I think we would adapt. Just like you were saying, you've seen these businesses that, they have the ingenuity, they're able to think outside the box, and they're able to adapt. And, I think I hate to say the whole, like, the lemonade out of lemons and just, just being able to do something different and being able to survive.
Well, I think that's what makes us different from anything else on the planet. Animals, whatever. There's a lot of people that put us in animal category, but there's not a whole lot of animals out there that can adapt to drastic change in their environment and still survive.
Right.
There's some that, that evolve and change, but you really take
you're especially when you talk about the mental aspect.
Yeah.
Physically adapting is one thing, but it's that mental adaptation that you got to make to survive that's where you lose most people. I mean, they're not able to convince themselves that there's another way of doing it other than the way they've always done it.
Right.
And once you get them past that, you start to see those people flourish.
Right.
But they have to convince themselves, or someone has to give them the confidence to change it up or dissolve. I mean, you don't have an option here. You either change it up or you dissolve.
Yeah.
And, some people will choose to dissolve and go try something else. But it's that guy who's got his life's work, his life savings. It's got his family in mind that started his business, whatever it might be. I mean, imagine being a restaurant owner.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it just seems like every day there's another hurdle thrown out on the track they got to jump over. I don't know how they do it, but they're doing it.
Yeah.
Innovation.
Sure. So yeah, I think we have people in our community here that are they've been awesome at that. And anytime that I can support that by doing stuff local.
Yeah.
I mean, now more than ever, man, that's been you see that slogan and, shop local and in one ear out the other, but we need to do that now.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of great craftsmen around here, cooks, very, very, very capable people. We don't have to go anywhere for what we need. It's all right here.
Yeah.
Sure.
And, and I'll be the first to admit, I'm an Amazon whore. Because it's easy.
So easy.
But even this year, my wife and I were talking about Christmas gifts and stuff. Like, all right, like where can we get stuff locally? Like, what, Jeff Bezos is going to be just fine if I buy my Christmas gifts or whatever. If I can buy more and more from local places, like, where can you help people out? And it's that.
And you'll see that. I mean, the appreciation that those people give you, is worth it. You might not get that smoking deal,
right?
And you can pick it up on your front porch, and at that convenience, man, that'll make the best guy into the worst guy for sure.
Laziness.
But if you've got that opportunity and you're out and about, I think now more than ever we need to do that because that dollar goes further. It really does, and you're putting back. I mean, if people are always saying, "What can I do for my community? What can I do to make the place I live better?" There you go.
Spend your money there.
Yeah. Keep it there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just pretty simple, but man, is it effective.
Yeah. I think it's too, just a couple, especially most time when they're just saving a couple bucks.
Yeah.
By buying it online or something like that. Well, all right, like what are you spending that couple bucks on that you're saving? Probably some trash.
Something you don't need anyways,
something
right?
you don't need anyways. I know there was a time where I had when I had a bunch of employees at the one place I worked, and they'd complain about, "Oh man, I ain't got no money." And I know most of the folks I had working for me were paycheck to paycheck. But they'd come in and, well, I saw on your, Facebook, you had a case of beer and a couple packs of cigarettes over the weekend. They'd always have their brand new packs of cigarettes and this, that, man, I ain't got money to pay rent.
Priorities.
Well, you're spending $50 a week on cigarettes. Maybe back off that a little bit. And then you can afford to pay this, that, whatever. Like, I feel for you.
Sure. I know what you're saying. There's a balancing act there. A lot of people are in that spot for their own decisions, no doubt. But sometimes it takes someone to call them out on it.
Yeah.
Sounds like accountability.
Yeah. Well,
Back to that word again.
Yeah, right? You got to be nice with it, though. That's the hard part, is being able to talk to somebody about it.
I think if you can think of it, like you were saying, though, like just that we don't know everyone's situation. If you can kind of handle it, like obviously what I said about the 80-year-old or whatever, it was in jest.
Right.
But no, honestly, what you said, man, just we don't know what they've gone through.
Yeah.
We haven't walked in those shoes, and so just taking a step back and, like you said, trying to be as human as possible, having the level of empathy while listening, and then just trying to deal with them justly.
Yeah. Try to find out some information. Hey man, what's the deal? Something going on today? Is there something I can help you with maybe? That might open the door that you might go down a rabbit hole you never wanted to go down. But more times than not, you're going to get the information you're looking for.
Yeah.
There's usually something going on, and unfortunately, it could be something like a mental health issue, because that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is, and it's not going anywhere. And things like this pandemic is just, they really increase the probability of that stuff becoming an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for those people anyhow, but when the routine is broken and guidelines are set that don't meet that routine, they have a tough time adapting.
Yeah, I'd say I'd even take that just one step further. The mental health, addiction, and suicide.
Absolutely.
Huge
No question.
increase in those numbers because of this. And it, I know it's been overlooked to some extent, but it's crazy when you see those statistics, and then, you get the mental health, people not being able to get the treatment they need, or, they can't do the face-to-faces with counselors.
Right.
They're not getting the meds they need. They start to self-medicate, they use some heroin or something. They have kids in the house, and it leads to more abuse.
Sure.
So it's some interesting stuff that.
Yeah. I mean, the Zoom meetings and all that's wonderful, but it doesn't replace this.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't replace this. It just
Absolutely.
can't. There's value to this face-to-face. It's almost like a text message versus a phone call. I can send you a text message, and 10 people can interpret the same words differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But if you put me on
Yeah.
speakerphone,
Yeah, you get a little bit more.
You can understand
put you on video, you get a little bit more.
A little bit more. But if I sit in front of you,
You get it all.
and I make a statement and I give a wink or a half smile,
Or you see the weird face I give you back, and you go, "Oh, that didn't come
Sure.
across
I mean,
well."
It's natural feedback, man, and that's I think that's a lost art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking to people face to face and more calling them out is a lost art.
Yeah, and doing it well. I mean, it's going back to we just did a Skype podcast where we were talking to a lady from Alaska that lives up there, who's a dietitian that we were talking to, and like you said, it's good. We got the video, you can see, you can hear them, but there's just a little piece
It's not
missing.
the same as this.
Yeah, it's you just can't.
So you can get the same information, but you're not going to get the same experience.
Yeah.
If that makes a difference.
Yeah, I feel like, and it's. I won't go there. Let's say maybe there's something too. Like there's some, and I'm not. Again, don't make it too woo woo, but being near somebody else, like there's just something there. Like there's just
Yeah,
that
I mean, there's relatability when, we look similar, we sound similar.
Yeah.
but even just the presence of seeing you on a video versus
Well,
just
that's what I mean. There's an energy too that you don't get
Yeah.
on those.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell if someone's they're not jiving with what's going on.
Yeah.
You can see that, maybe when the camera's on them, they're all into it. But when I'm talking to you and I'm looking over at him and he's falling asleep,
Hopefully, I wasn't doing that.
a little bit, no, but there's that body language thing there. There's that situational awareness to where what's going on around you. When you got that person in front of you, you can see the hands working. You can see if they're getting pissed. You can see that artery and those veins popping out. You can see that sweat building up. Whatever. Those are all forms of communication.
oh yeah.
And you can't get that unless you're in front of someone. And I don't know the first thing about education, but I can't believe that this is the best way for us to do this.
Ooh, that's a great segue, because think about who's graduating now. People that they lived through an entire lifetime of social media at this point.
Yeah, they've never really learned how to interact with.
There we go. So what happens with those people? Like, carry that situation out in their social interactions.
Do we have to?
In their job interviews, in how they deal with relationships and how they deal with confrontation. Like that's an interesting
Sure.
thought right there.
Scary.
For sure, and they're going to do well in areas, and they're going to fail miserably in others. There are certain jobs, like ours, all of our jobs here, that those type of folks, they would never succeed doing our type of work
Yeah.
because we are an interaction with people first. Our day begins and ends with interaction with people. Most of the time, at very least, a phone call. But most of the time, a face-to-face. Even a phone call nowadays. I mean, I don't think half the kids realize that those are phones because you can call people on them. I don't think that they know that. I think we could change the name of those to anything else and it wouldn't bother them. But just talking on the phone, I mean, I'll give the phone to my kids, and they have no idea what the hell to do with it.
I think it's hilarious to hear how awkward some of those people are.
They
on the
don't
phone.
know what to do because they don't have 10 minutes to respond.
Yeah, but let me ask you this thing. So, you touched on, business owners. Do you think that those I don't know, whatever generation that is, do you think they can adapt?
Just a Generation Z or something? Yeah.
I think a lot of that depends on who they get to mentor them.
Yep.
I think there's always going to be a niche for those type of people to fit into. There's always parts of business that need people behind the scenes. But out on the front lines, making deals, working up jobs, talking to people, they may not be your best choice unless they get mentored quickly. And then, even then, is it authentic?
Yeah.
Because and I know, when someone is not authentic in what they're telling you, I immediately get pissed.
Right.
I'm shutting you out, and I can't wait for you to be quiet because I'm going to climb in your butt because I don't believe in what you're saying, and I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
And that authenticity has to be there.
Yeah.
For me to trust you, number one, doing work for me, or me even doing work for you. True. I got to believe you.
I think that takes some learning too, even without.
That goes back to almost what you were saying about being trained by the veterans.
Yes. When
they had years and years of that, and
yes.
so if you didn't have years and years of that, you might be able to learn some of it, but there's probably a lot of it that, man, you might not ever get it.
Yeah, you may not, and that's how valuable your older employees are. I mean, when you're a young guy coming into a job, you despise those guys because you aren't going to do it that way. That's not how I was shown how to do it. I'm not going to do it that way. I don't do what he does. He's so slow with what he does. I'm not doing it that way. The reality of it is you better be gaining as much knowledge from that guy as you can, because even what he tells you, he probably forgot half of what he should be telling you. And that stuff, there's no amount of training that you can pay for that can put you higher on your learning scale than you can get from an older employee.
Yeah. And at the same time, I'll push back against that a little bit too, because I had an experience when I was younger. Mm-hmm. I had an older employee like that. And I think it's important too for the experienced folks, because there could be people that aren't necessarily older, but know a lot more than the new person coming in, is to be able to be conscious of that and be open with their knowledge, what they have.
Yeah.
I remember like I told you before we started this, the whole chronic curiosity thing is just, I want to know more. And I always used to ask this guy, why? And we worked as we were kind of like a construction crew, and it was just two people. We always worked together. He's an older, and so I had, the younger guy with him. And I was like, well, why? Why do we do that? Why do we do this?
Yeah.
And eventually he just started freaking out. He's like, God damn it, Fred, you're always questioning what I'm saying.
Sure.
You always think you can do it better. I said, no. And that was the first time as a young person. That really
wasn't your intention.
That was the 1st time.
You're genuine saying why.
Right. But, and that was kind of my personality. And I realized that was when I began to realize that I came off very wrong, because my wife always told me that I was like that too. So, but in my mind, it was never, well, I'm doing this to be a jerk.
Yeah.
It was, why do we do it that way? So I can understand it.
Sure.
So at the same time of, the older and the younger, and if the younger generation is just inquisitive,
Yeah.
Maybe we need to learn as well how to phrase your sentences properly when you're asking questions or when you're challenging
Sure.
an authority figure
Oh,
or
yeah.
something like that.
There's
You got
some
to say it
tact.
the right way.
Have some tact with it. Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah, and look, not all older employees are good ones. I mean, that's just the truth
Yeah.
of it. Just because they've been there 20 years, it doesn't mean that that's the type of guy you want to model yourself after. No doubt. Most of the time, though, they are. And not a lot of them are open to that type of thing. It's you kind of got to earn your way in,
Right.
so to speak. There's a pecking order. Come in, shut your mouth, go do what you're told, and after a couple months, you'll see that some of those doors start to open up. Tough to do because when you're a young guy like that, you're pretty thirsty for some knowledge, man.
Right.
I want to come in, I want to make a good impression, and I know this guy's good at what he does, but I also don't want to bombard him.
Right.
And, get in the way of him doing his good work.
Right. And going back to what I said, and that's at the same time, that person coming in, you have to have some reverence.
Yes. A little maturity
I
comes
use the reverence. See? Yeah. I know when to have it sometimes. Tony's called me extremely irreverent person.
I didn't say extremely. I just said
I am irreverent.
we're
not extreme.
irreverent at times.
Yeah.
For sure.
At the same time, there's got to be that, you have to have some reverence for the position and who it is and the knowledge they have. And so I don't mean to just...
No. And I think that there is some responsibility there with your leaders, as far as maybe the boss or the guy in charge overseeing everything, to take that guy aside and say, look, you're the type of employee that we want the rest of our guys to be like. Try if you can to teach these guys when you get a chance. Now, there's going to be some of them you don't like. I get that. Hell, I don't even like them. But pick out a couple of these guys that you really like, you can relate to, and try to take them under your wing and make them as good as you because you are good. That comes back to your leadership. And look, and I'm not talking about my job here, but there is a lot of poor leaders in this world.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very fortunate at the place that I'm at that's not the case. I've been very lucky to have supervisors ahead of me, bosses, been really good leaders, both on the job and off of it. Fortunate that way. I would say that that's probably the most fortunate thing that's happened to me there is I've been under really good leadership from a lot of different levels. But the thing about being under good leadership, you sure as hell recognize it when it's bad. And
right.
It's very, very, very difficult for me to accept that. Here we go back to that switch. Sometimes, man, the switch just needs to be left home. But you got that switch with you. You don't, blessing or curse, right? So when you see bad leadership, it's hard to not call it out.
Right.
And it's hard to respect that chain of command that you've been in your whole life. But when you see things that are really ineffective, that are really having an adverse effect on the way things are going on, it's hard to be quiet. It's hard to not call somebody out, even when it's not your place.
Right.
But that's what our makeup is.
Right. Well, I think it makes it even harder too that throughout history that, maybe good leaders with integrity aren't always awarded properly.
Right.
Sometimes people who lie, cheat, and steal to get to where they get rewarded, and so then the next person goes, well, okay, I guess I have to lie, cheat, and steal and step on these people's heads too.
Well, that's going on currently right now in our government.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of example are we setting for our youth? I mean, I hope our youth isn't paying that much attention to our government leaders, but if they were, look at the examples we would be trotting out in front of them right now.
On both sides.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. So, yeah. I mean, I think we have people in charge right now in all walks of life that we're paying the price for a lot of that.
Yeah.
Really bad leadership. We really are.
Crenshaw Gabbard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think we're starting to really reap what we have sown the last 50 years for sure.
Yeah.
It's there's so many aspects to it. But since you touched on that, there is one thing I wanted to ask you about pertaining to your career field and the government situation in the United States, whatever. But, there's been a lot of talk that maybe it's just me personally. I never realized the full scope of it and the dangers of it. But there's been a lot of talk, at least I've seen, about the drug war, in the past, recent years. And, I think pieces of that have came from things that I've learned and, talking to Tony and, working at the addiction clinic and different things and seeing, I feel like going back to the politicians that, everyone they're attempting to kind of push everybody into one box or the other. And you have to believe all of these things or you have to believe all of these things. And there's so much that intermingles and interconnects and crosses over. And I think the drug war is kind of one of those things that everyone is put in one category or the other, where I think the sensible, at least in my eyes, it's somewhere in the middle there. Like, I think what was it Oregon? They just maybe it was just Portland. They just legalized everything.
It was Oregon.
Was the entire state of Oregon just legalized everything?
You can have certain amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which,
some of the amounts weren't even super small either, because we looked them up, because I'm like, because that's what Portugal did a while back. They just legalized everything.
Right. Which I don't necessarily think is necessarily a bad idea. It kind of goes back to the it's very nuanced and there's a lot of different things there. But just from your perspective, do you think because I know you talked about cartel and stuff before we started just a little bit, but do you think that is a kind of a beneficial thing to lean towards hey, let's not put people in jail for long periods of time just because they're doing drugs, and only because we have laws. I think the most convincing argument that I've heard for legalizing drugs on just a general topic is the fact that we have laws against hurting other people, and we have laws against stealing things and, breaking into places and doing wrong things. So why do we need laws against people doing something to themselves if they're not hurting anybody else?
Paternalistic laws.
Yeah. And
hold on, maybe you need to follow up too on Oregon, like what they're trying to do with that. So like you said, personal possession amounts, whatever it was they deemed, and then you get a choice. You either go to jail for that or you pay a fine, and that fine is supposed to go towards these rehabilitation centers. Right. And then, so in theory,
right?
please go ahead.
First off, I think every single case by case scenario is different. So when you were talking about throwing everything in one box or the other, it can't be done simply based on that.
Right.
I don't believe in legalizing anything that's against the law. If as long as that law says heroin is illegal, it needs to be enforced.
This is at a federal level, you're saying, like the states,
federal, state, whatever. If it is illegal, then it needs to be enforced. If it's not illegal, obviously you're moving on to the next thing. But and I would respectfully disagree with the fact that it only affects that person. And here's why. Unfortunately, I've been to a lot of deaths that are drug related. You take a rock and throw it in a pond and watch those ripples just keep getting wider and wider and wider. That person had a mom, dad, son, daughter, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, and so on. It does affect them.
Right.
It is not just an effect that it has just on that person. Yeah, it's a user. We found them in the park. They're going to jail. But that drug has affected that life, which affects the people that person knows.
Right.
It has destroyed it, or it's in the process of destroying it. Do making arrests solve those every time? Of course not. Making arrests on everything doesn't solve anything. I mean, if we're going to go by that logic, we can't enforce any law. I mean, I can write 10 speed tickets today, but I'll write 12 tomorrow.
Right.
It doesn't stop the speeders from coming. They're coming. We can't just throw our hands up and say, you know what, the hell with it. We can't stop speeding, so drive how you want. There are guys like me and you at some point in our life, we've had the opportunity to do those drugs, partake in that kind of behavior, and something has stopped us from doing that. Mm-hmm. What was it? Family, law, the threat of going to prison? If that's the case, it worked. And then there's also the part that said, we just can't give up on doing this, because there is some virtue in fighting this. It destroys people, whether they want to believe it or not. I mean, if you had the chance to outlaw cancer, would you do it?
Right.
Or would you just say, you know what, people are dying of cancer, let's just stop looking for a cure. We're never going to find it anyway.
Right. So to that point too, it could easily be argued, well, we sell cigarettes. We're
Correct.
selling cancer to people.
There's no doubt.
You know what I mean? So I guess,
absolutely.
I fully understand. I fully agree that there are some things that should be illegal, mm-hmm. Because they do have those ripple effects. But I think, at least in my view, there are some things that are a little less impactful that, people drink themselves to death every day.
For sure.
That's legal.
And look, I've always said that I would rather deal with someone that smoked a bag of weed than a guy who's drank a case of beer.
Because they're just trying to eat your Cheetos.
give me that guy over the guy who drank a case of beer.
So maybe that's more directive of my question.
Sure.
Is, do you think there are some, what kind of things do you think could help out in the situation that we're in versus, obviously we can't just legalize everything, because that's ridiculous. You can't legalize speeding. This isn't Germany. We don't have the Autobahn, right?
Right.
But there are some certain situations where it's case by case, this, that, whatever. But what do you think as far as moving forward? Are there things that do you think that we're doing now that aren't really beneficial, that could be changed a little bit in order to help, impact the situation? Because I know you talked about, I think this might have been before we started recording, you were talking about, all the meth labs that you had shut down. And obviously that's something that's
sure.
That's a lot different than smoking some weed.
Right.
You know what I mean? And different things like that. So, a lot of times I think people put, drugs and, or whatever it may be into one category, and that is what it is, because that's what it is.
They're not. There are different levels of, danger, because that's what they are. I mean, they are a danger to that person or the people around them. Mm-hmm. They make them do things that are completely out of character, and they change their life. And most of, if not all of the time, it's negative.
Right.
And what stops a person from doing that? I don't know. I don't know. I know that if there is a deterrent out there, and it is because it is illegal and it stops one person from doing it, I think it's virtuous to keep it. Now, when these people are found, are there different ways of handling that punishment? Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got, again, case-by-case basis where, maybe a 4-year prison term is not the best thing for this person if it's their first time.
Right.
Are there other issues that factor into that? Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look at it all. And then a lot of responsibility goes on your judges, your lawmakers, and things like that. But from my level, which is just a street cop, my job is to enforce the law.
Right. And
until that law says it's okay, then I have to enforce it.
No, and I could totally appreciate that. Like, that's something, it's like you said, that's your job. Yeah. You're tasked with, like I said earlier, when I go out to different property, I'm here to do my job.
Sure. And you're not going to hear what you want to hear most of the time. You're going to hear what you need to hear. And can we make recommendations? Absolutely. Does the judge take those into account? Yes, they do. So again, that interaction with me, circumstances, it's all a totalitarian type of thing where you take all the factors, you put it in a package, and you deliver it to that judge, and he or she's going to look at it and make a determination. And I don't know if there's one set of standard that can ever police that properly, because they're all so different.
Yeah,
they're all so different. But if you let that type of thing start getting into your mind when you're the street cop, it's going to corrupt the way you do your work. You need to keep in mind what you're out there for, and you're out there to enforce the law. Whether it's the smallest to the largest, that's your task. So try to get that done the best you can. And then when you're asked, give your opinion and stand by it. And that's really where most of us begin and end our thinking on stuff like that. We don't agree with probably 50% of the laws in that book. We really don't. But that's not, no one cares what we think. When you start to accept that, that's when you can really start becoming a good policeman, is that you got a job to do.
Right.
And, you have what they call officer discretion, and you can exercise that whenever you want. You just need to be able to explain it.
Right.
Which, again, if you do things honestly and you're able to articulate clearly why it is that you do what you do, I've never had anybody ever give me a problem over that. I really haven't. So, I mean, I know that's probably a dance around the question answer, but
that's all like an answer
it really try to, I guess, stay in your lane, man. From my standpoint, do the job that I've been given to do, that I get paid to do, give my opinion when I think it's proper, when I should be giving it, or if I'm asked for it to explain something, explain it and then go from there. And it comes back to that honesty thing again, that word that just seems to be escaping most of our society nowadays. But, that's really what it comes down to. And you're trying, you do try to help these people. I mean, you really do. I mean, you know darn well that by taking them in and throwing them in the jail, it's not going to fix nothing. We know this. We know that, but we do know that it is the beginning of the road that gets them on the highway that leads them to the expressway to getting help.
Right.
And it has to start there. So, and a lot of people have come around years later, and they've been appreciative of how things were handled like that. I've had several people find me, talk to me, and say, "You know what, man? You threw me in jail that night, but it changed my life."
Right.
Okay. Good. Keep it up.
Right. Well, I think I'm just assuming at this point, but I think a lot of it comes back to the honesty and treating those people, with some sort of dignity.
Yeah.
And being honest with them.
Yeah.
I think that's you keep coming back to I think you even said earlier that honesty is freedom or some, the more honest you are, the
free. I mean, you are, because you never have to worry about what you said.
Yeah. You don't have to try to recall, the things you told people.
You don't, and it doesn't mean that being honest is always right.
Right.
I mean, you can be honest. Yeah. I mean, you can be honest with someone and be totally off. You say, "Dude, man, I really like that shirt." And you don't like the shirt, and that may come back to get you later. But what you want to try to do, though, is not do or say something that later on is going to come up and bring your integrity into question.
Right.
Because really, at the end of the day, that's really all you got. I mean, in my line of work, if that is a problem, integrity, then your career is basically over.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, everyone has cameras in the cars, on the bodies, and that takes away a lot of that guesswork.
Sure.
But when you were a young policeman, when I started, all you had was your word.
Right.
And it's funny how that is a reputation that can spread just like one in high school. Because all these defense attorneys and everybody, they all talk. So if they get a case for a guy that he's not exactly the most honest and up kind of shady dude, we're going to take this one to the box and we're going to take it to court. But if there's a guy that usually, he's proven himself to be a reliable, honest dude, then this is probably not one we want to fight. Let's find another way to get this one done. And you had to make your reputation that way based on your actions. And that can still be done. We got a lot of pushback when we got these body cameras. And I was one of the first ones to say, what do I need this for? I've never been called into question. It wasn't so much pain in the butt for me, but I just felt like, I've worked really hard to get myself a good, solid reputation here. I don't need Big Brother,
right,
substantiating everything I do on a daily basis. I kind of ticked me off, to be honest. But we get back to that, that small businessman mindset of adapting. You know what? If I got this thing on here, I'm going to use it to my advantage.
Right.
I'm going to really show people what really goes on.
Yeah.
And it's been a positive for us amidst a very, very negative beginning. It has been something that we as a department, and I think, have turned into something that really benefits us. And I think a lot of that, has made our jobs easier. Right. Because people are now able to see what we do and able to understand that we don't necessarily do everything wrong like everyone says. These guys are pretty stand-up group of dudes, and we're proud to have them around here. So, we've used that to our advantage, but, it's adapting.
Right. That's a big piece of it, that adaptability is, it's I think that's one thing that I've tried to kind of live by the last 10 years or so. It's realized, what, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I can only go forward from here. So, use it to your advantage. That's
because they're not going away. I mean, none of this technology is going away.
Yeah.
So you either learn how to use
it. Crazy solar flare just wipes it all out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Calm down, Joe Rogan.
Wouldn't be such a bad thing, would it? We'd have to live off the land again.
Well, if we're still alive, I guess.
Yeah, some of us would make it. That's what, dude, I'm making that real deep dive into ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. Just the idea that, because the general consensus is like civilizations have been around for the last, 6,000 BC or so. Like that's kind of like civilization wise, as far as cities and like communities and stuff like that. Well, they're finding stuff that's, pre 12,000 BC. They're like, this might be a civilization. Like this looks more than just hunter gatherers, and and they talk
actual organized communities.
Right. So there's some people that believe both sides, and there's some people who believe that the Egyptians were even as far back, like the Sphinx was built like 36,000 BC.
No, I thought you were going to tell me you're one of those guys that thinks aliens built them.
No, see, Tony thinks I'm one of those guys because I joke about it a lot, but that's not. But I don't know. But what I'm saying is some of the evidence is showing that human civilization has probably been around longer than we think, and there's starting to be some evidence coming out that supports multiple catastrophes throughout human evolution, where it's not this gradual progress from we were fish and then started crawling and turned into monkeys and then came out of the trees. It's we might have been humans for a lot longer than we think, but something happens where it wipes us all out, and then the ones that adapt and survive as we move forward are the ones that keep on going. And
I mean, you got to wonder, where does that come from, and why do some of us have it, some of us don't? You got to wonder. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just know when it's not there. I recognize it more, as with most things, man. I mean, you notice when something's not there than when it is there, because if it's there, you probably got it, and it's not a big thing to you.
Right.
And if you're tough-minded and old-fashioned and a hard worker, when you run across someone that's just like you, it's not a big deal. But when you run across someone who isn't,
different, and
it's like, how are you even alive? And how did you make it this far, man? How many times have you asked yourself that? Yeah, but I think it's becoming more and more rare.
Yeah,
this trait.
Well, I think it's going to be, at least this is my hypothesis, I think it's going to be something that, and I've kind of used this, analogy with Tony before too, in conversations where I feel like we're like in a perpetual rubber band, where we go so far one way, and then we bounce, and then we go so far the other, and then but eventually it always comes back. Like you got to keep on coming back because people realize,
so what you're saying is
too far.
Skinny jeans are going to go away sometime, and we'll never see them again.
No, I think maybe like 50 years we'll see him again. So you think about that though.
50 years, I won't even be here.
Yeah, but think about it. I wasn't even around when like bell bottoms were a thing. But bell bottoms were skinny jeans with really fat bottoms.
Yeah.
Dudes were wearing them. They were all tight, just like skinny jeans. They just weren't tight at the ankle.
Hey, fat bottoms make the rock and roll go around.
And
That's
then
what Queen said.
yeah. But then what happened? Then Jinko jeans came around.
Yeah, those big ones.
And they were just bell bottoms all the way up.
Yeah.
And then we just turned them into skinny jeans. So what's next? I think maybe like we'll do a skinny bottom and a big top. Like
Maybe Tony will start
MC
pegging
Hammer.
his pants again.
Yeah.
You remember that? Or are you
said
too
pegging them?
young for pegging pants?
I don't think I ever pegged my pants.
You'll have to look that one up.
Look it up.
But the MC Hammer,
I think there's some
he was
truth
skinny
to-
jeans at the bottom and
to some of
sack.
that stuff coming back around though.
Yeah.
I mean, fashion's the easy one,
right?
Yeah.
but when is I think there's less and less men like what we would consider manly men out there.
Toxic
Toxic
masculinity.
masculinity. Oh,
Well, I mean, you
man.
call it
I'm
what you.
messing-
I mean, it just when. I mean, I've fortunate or unfortunate, I see that a lot, where a lot of problems that these people are having, you could solve it by just manning up.
Yeah. Well, I think
Man up. I mean, it's really. What else do you want me to tell you?
right.
Man up and do it.
Yeah, woman up, do something. Just go.
Yeah.
Just do it.
And that man up includes
Right.
women,
Yeah.
and young men, and sometimes kids. You got 10 pages to read tonight. Do it.
Yeah.
You want to. That's a Jocko quote. I probably won't hit it the nail on the head, but it said you want to be mentally tougher, get tougher.
Yeah.
I mean, God, I wish I knew how to say that, because I've been thinking that for 20 years, but I didn't know how to put that into words. And when he read it, or when he said that, and I read it, I'm like, there it is. I mean, you want to be stronger, then lift. You want to be faster, go run.
Yeah. Embrace the suck.
Yeah,
You got to get
I mean,
through it.
stop running from things that are hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a disease right now. It really is a disease that people don't want to do hard stuff.
Yeah. They think they're gonna be able to get out of it.
Yeah, there's got to be an app that I can download to get me around this, right? Or I can call someone else to come do it.
Yeah.
I love that because I'm like, my kids are going to have such an advantage because I want to train them in the fires of something that's difficult on a daily basis. And then they're just going to eat other kids that weren't trained.
Well, that's
that
what,
way.
like my kids all the time. Like, well, can you help me? Well, you could figure it out. Well, I need your help. Well, all right, well, you try to figure it out, and then one thing I try not to do is just do something for my kid. It's all right. I'm going to tell you to try it. I'm going to try to you figure it out, and then where I get to the point where it's okay, I will show you how to do it. But I see people they just do stuff for their
teach her
kids.
to fish.
Yeah, like teach a man to fish.
Yeah.
Teach people how to do things so they can do it for themselves. So
Yeah.
they're not incapacitated.
And then I think you got to test them. I think you got to put them in the fire. I'll give you an example with my boy. Just the other day, we drove down to a place, and we got out. We're pulling all of our trail cameras out of the woods because our hunting season's over. We've got all of our tags are filled.
Did
We're
you get
done.
a good one this year?
We got a couple good ones. Yeah, we
Nice.
found two blind and deaf deer, and we got them both. So
Nice.
chances of that.
Hey, if they fill the freezer just the same,
Oh
right?
yeah, man. They're going to be good. But we drove down to this location, and it was Thanksgiving. I mean, we didn't see a car going down there, and we got back to the truck, and I said, "Drive." He's like, "Huh?" And I said, "Drive. You know where we're going. Get us there." And you could see the excitement go away almost immediately to, "Oh shit, I'm gonna have." He's serious. And I said, "Let's go. If it gets too bad, just pull over. And if we get in a crash, you weren't driving." But he did fine, and he got in there and he drove the truck and got us from A to B, and it was an accomplishment for him that, hey, look, I just did something that I didn't know I could do.
Yeah.
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 And now I feel pretty confident that when the time comes I got to perform, I'll be able to do this.
Right.
And I think, again, it's actions. I mean, you got to talk to them, and you got to explain stuff. There's no question about it. But at some point, especially as a parent, you got to let them go. And that's really hard. But it's worth it because you know that, hey, look, if I'm not here, someday I'm not going to be here. But if I'm not here, literally, he's going to be okay doing this. Right. And he's going to have the confidence to do something he didn't think he could do. So I think that's important to let him go make mistakes. Let him go succeed. And understand when they don't. Because you can get really frustrated because you think they're ready. And you think you got all the boxes checked. And you're ready to let him go do this or that. And they're not going to, 9 out of 10 times, they're not going to get it right.
Right.
And yet, that's where the real coaching comes in. That's where the real parenting comes in is, okay, you're a little off track. We got to get you back on track, but you'll be fine.
Right.
And that's hard to do when it's your own kid. It's really easy to do with someone else.
Yeah, it's easy to say, but we've talked about it too. It's obviously you learn some things through succeeding, but we kind of, little hyperbolic. It's you never learn anything from succeeding. You learn a lot more from failing.
Yeah.
Obviously there are some things to learn when you succeed in something, but I've learned a lot more from my failures than I ever have my successes.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that for sure. I mean, and knowing what not to do sometimes is better than knowing what to do.
Right.
It doesn't make a lot of sense when you first say it, but you can avoid problems by doing things you shouldn't do.
Right.
And that's what we're really trying to do through navigating most of life is avoid problems. Mm. And we're trying to subconsciously or very aware, we're trying to stay out of conflict or problems.
Right. And
try to keep that smooth sailing. So, eliminating things that can go wrong, that's a lot of the battle.
Right. I think one thing that, this is just my personal opinion, one thing that we need to allow people to do is fail.
Yeah.
I think there's too much of that.
Absolutely.
We're just not allowed to fail anymore.
No.
And as soon as somebody does, it's like, oh, you're out of the picture now. Like, what do you mean? Like,
he already said it. Shoot the participation trophy.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. And that's how you get rid of that.
Yeah.
It's you can fail and still have a lot of good things come out of it.
Yeah.
I'll go back to hunting. Especially bow hunting is 99 out of 100 times you're coming back just like you went in. You're not really gaining anything as far as a tangible animal.
Right.
But you should be coming out of there with a little bit more knowledge about how things are moving through this woods. Where do I need to be at to be a more effective hunter? How do I move in on this thing's, living room? How do I get in there? And it could be subtle things, but you have to be aware of what's going on.
Right.
And that I would not necessarily consider that a failure, but to most folks, you say, hey, I'm going hunting tonight. You come home and you didn't have anything. Better luck next time. No, it's nothing to really do with luck. I saw where he's at. It's just a matter of time before I get him.
I just like to tell people that I like just to go out and sit in the woods for my inner peace and it's nice and quiet. Because that way when I don't get anything when I go bow hunting, I'm like, yeah, no, I got everything I need. I sat out there and I saw the squirrels.
Well, there is some truth to that. There is truth to that. I mean, you can gain, just getting away from the hustle and bustle and just
turning the phone off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's value to that. And how can you not say you didn't gain anything?
Yeah. No, I agree. I was just making a joke, but it's cool. I've seen stuff. It was, was it last year? The year before, I saw a bobcat for the first time in person.
Yeah.
I was in a stand. I like to bow hunt. And this bobcat almost got a squirrel. I see this squirrel sitting up on the tree just barking. And I'm like, what's, and then I'm like, what's this squirrel?
Yeah, not many people get to see those.
Yeah. And then it was the very first time I ever saw one in person. And I saw it twice that day. I saw it in the morning and afternoon.
Wow.
But it was neat. I saw this squirrel just going crazy. I'm like, what the heck is this thing's deal? Next thing I know, this bobcat comes slinking up and I'm like, this is the
pretty
coolest,
awesome.
This is the coolest thing ever. And then later I saw it coming back, and I pulled my phone out that time. So I was like, well, I'm not going to shoot this thing.
Yeah.
So I pulled my phone out and he saw me, and I got a picture of him standing at the bottom of my tree, just looking up at me. I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
This is neat.
It's times like that you realize how really ineffective you are as a hunter.
Oh yeah.
When you see an actual real predator moving through the woods,
yeah.
you're like,
you never heard him. It just pops up right there.
I am such an
And then
idiot.
he looks up at you and like, hey, I see you.
I see you. I've seen you up there for the last 2 hours, you dummy. Yeah, I mean, you realize how ineffective you are when you see a real predator, something like a coyote or an owl, or something like that. You're just like, wow, man, I don't even belong out here.
Yeah.
I'm out of my league. But there's a lot of value in that, and that's again, I'll go back to find something else to do. You have your career, but go find something else to do. Get involved in something else and have a few hours, a week, a day, whatever it is, and just unplug it. Unplug it, and all that stuff can wait. Just go unplug it and do something for yourself. Involve your kids in it, your wife, whatever it is that you do. Just unplug from it. I think that's important. And I don't see a lot of that anymore. I just don't. People make their career into their life. Mm-hmm. And I understand sometimes that happens without you knowing it.
Yeah.
But once you realize that's happening, you need to do whatever you can to get out of that and start living. I think that's important so you don't wear it out. And you're not as effective at what you do if it becomes mundane.
Right.
You're just not.
That's a super important point. I mean, I know I've seen that in my own life where where I go hunting.
Yeah.
There's no running water, electricity. It's cabin down in the middle of the woods. And
Perfect.
It's like, I'm good in the winter. I'm good for a couple of days. In the summer, it's rough, not showering, but you wipe off whatever, but there's something about, you sit down, there's no cars, there's no lights, there's no, every once in a while you hear a plane go over and you're just staring out at the woods or whatever it is. And it's like, my phone's not going off. And you think, man, this has been a nice day. And you look at time. Oh, it's only 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
I can just sit here and just enjoy this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it gives you that, it's almost like that breath of fresh air. You go, okay, like I gotta go back to work. I go do the things, but it helps to remind you that, hey, there's a lot more out here.
And you can do those things because of your work.
Yeah.
Your work that you do so well and so long, it gives you that ability to go away and take some time away, and you should take advantage of that. I mean, and you should have your employees or your coworker, you should encourage them to do the same. Let them know that it's okay to, hey, look, man, you need to go away for a couple of days and spend time with your family, or, we've had a rough week. Why don't you take the next couple of days off? You should. You got the time. Go do it.
Right.
It's winter time. Go help Grandpa get the snow out of his driveway. Do something. Get out of here, and let them know it's okay to do that. That you're not any less of an employee because you want to go do these things like that. Because sometimes those guys get browbeated if they feel like they're letting everybody down if they go.
Right.
And it's not the case. You need to do that and charge those batteries.
Just take care of the work when you're there.
Yep. Yep.
For sure. Oh, yeah. This is already 2.5 hours in.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people fell asleep out there.
I don't think any.
No, yeah.
Some awesome life lessons in there, and touched on some
Am
some
I
good
like
subjects.
the old man of the show so far? Well, if you got to think that long, I probably am.
I'm trying to go back through guests that we've had. I think so at this point, but my grandpa's is coming on, so he's he's hesitant because he just doesn't know about podcasts. But I'm like, Gramps, it's literally just sitting down, having some awesome conversations, and he's 88 or 89.
Oh yeah,
he has lived through some stuff.
He's a firecracker too.
He's awesome.
Well, that's the 2 hours easy.
Yeah,
right there. That's 2 hours just talking about the 40s.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you want to look at a time in history, man, the 40s. I mean, especially World War II. I mean, we have a pandemic right now, and it's a pretty big deal. But can you imagine? There was nothing to tune into to get the updates.
Which is probably
I was
better
say,
off.
I kind of wish there wasn't.
And you look at the newspaper every day to find out if you're still a free country or not.
Right.
That's pretty wild to think of it that way.
I mean, and we're going up against a pretty formidable force.
Yeah. Well, that, and I heard a lot of stories about the Cold War and stuff too. It's like people are just every day in and day out. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, I can remember doing drills in school for nuclear attacks. And, I mean, it would, you see the giant flash. And, I mean, the reality of it is it wasn't going to save anybody.
if you see a flash, I'm sorry.
You're just going to be able to find us all in the same place.
Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, and your little kids trying to wrap your mind around that. I mean, they're not much different than what's going on now.
True.
I mean, to try to explain to a kid they got to wear a mask or they might die from a virus.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing is like there's so many facts coming from so many different sides. Like, what am I supposed to believe? Like,
that's just it.
It's so hard.
You don't know. You truly don't know what to believe, but you try to pass that stuff on to your kids based on what you know to be true.
Right.
That's all you can do. And that, most of the time with me, that doesn't jive with most of what everybody else thinks, but it is what it is.
Yeah. All you got at the end of the day is yourself, and
that's it.
You got
nobody to answer to.
Yourself and your word.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about right from the rip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. And you're not always right.
Yeah.
But when you're not right, just say you're not.
It's not
Honesty and the ability, willingness to learn.
Easier said
like
than
I said,
done.
we hit a lot of life lessons today.
Yeah.
No one's going to be falling asleep.
Grandpa Joe came in and got everybody back on the North Pole.
Oh, well, shit, man. Anything? I think that's a fantastic note to end it on there. Unless you got something you want to.
No, I'm just glad it went this far.
I mean, I'm sure
I was really worried.
We could go. I mean, I could take a bathroom break. We could go another 3 hours. I'm sure, fairly easy.
Well, I got my youngest right, and I told him I was going to come do this, and they want to go to Summit Racing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what time it is.
3 o'clock.
I don't know when they close, but we'll make it up there. I mean, I'm sure they're open now till
probably 6 or 7.
I was going to say probably, I would say 6 or 7.
Yeah, so we'll have time to make it up. But they want to go up and look at the, all the stuff that they could buy with my money. But it's a pretty extravagant little trip for them. They'll like it.
Yeah.
That's
They've
awesome.
not been there. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a cool place.
So we're looking at stuff to do, and that came up. So we're going to go do that. But I'm just glad it went. I appreciate you asking me to do it.
Oh, I appreciate you coming
Because
on.
I didn't know if I was going to be able to even bring anything to the table at all. I thought, man, why? I know you and I had talked in the parking lot, but that's guy stuff. We're just. But I guess that's all this is.
That's what this is.
Have an honest conversation, man. I think that's like we've talked about. It's missing.
Yeah, it is, and it's a good thing to do. I mean, you find out stuff about people that you would probably never ask about.
Yeah.
Anyways. So, yeah, I'm just glad I could help.
Yeah. Likewise, glad you were able to come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Appreciate everything you do too.
Yeah.
In law enforcement.
Not a problem, man.
Definitely got our support.
If I wasn't doing that, I don't know what else I could do. So
you'd have instead of the police belt, you'd have your belt with your paintbrushes and your pastels, and
yeah,
I might do that. I just wanted to be an art teacher. That's it.
There you go. You still got time.
But I guess I could always go back and torment kids that way, right?
Yeah, there you go. You still got time. Impart your wisdom.
Yeah.
As a retired police officer.
Like Bob Ross, right?
Yeah.
Wispy little trees.
Happy little trees. Oh, excellent. Well, thank you.
Thank you.